This conference will now be recorded.
uh, what's today's date? August 4th, 2021, Stoneybrook Advisory Committee at Gateway. We're starting at 2 o'clock today for the first time. That's our new time going forward, and hope that works all right for everybody. We'll do a roll call first. Myself, JT Thomas, Virginia Stacy, Angela Sullivan, Warren Davies, and Chris Capillo are here. Only Thomas Roller is absent, and he is absent for an illness in the family. So it's a justified absence. In any case, we have Brian Bashir is also here from Gateway and for representing Gateway at our meeting. For starters, approved June 30th, 2021 meeting. That was a special meeting that we had a real quick. It was just to take a look.
No, that was a regular meeting.
Oh, that was a regular meeting. My error. My error. That was a regular meeting. That's correct. Move to approve.
I'll second.
Yeah, nobody has any comments on the meeting? So we got a motion from Warren Davies and a second from JT Thomas for the meeting. Any comments or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Minutes are approved. Thank you.
Now, we did get the minutes for the special meeting email test this
Yeah.
afternoon.
Right, and that's,
I don't know how
a
many.
quick glance, it looked all right to me, but I would say, I think Georgia had told me, and I misinterpreted her comments, that probably won't appear until September on the
Okay.
Board of Supervisor
If
minutes.
they
So
email them to us, can we just approve them right now?
I read it over pretty good.
I read it.
There was nothing.
I didn't see it because it was today.
It
But
was,
can we just get it printed right now and approve it so we can just get out of the
it
way?
was very basic, right down the order. The
Yeah.
motion was good.
Well, it wouldn't be, it's not on the agenda, so
Yeah,
we
it's
probably
on
can't.
the agenda, number one. Number
Yeah.
two was the fact that apparently we have to get it, to get onto the Board of Supervisors. Apparently, our opportunity is the first meeting of the month. And we're not, and we can't get on the second meeting of the month. I don't know why that is, but that's,
But it's not an
it
agenda
is
item.
what it is.
so
It's
And I
not an
also have
agenda
a
item.
concern, I didn't receive the email. You don't know if you did either, so
I did check
I
my
did
email
not
lately.
receive,
Well, in any case,
I know it's not there.
so we, all in favor, the minutes for the June 30th meeting are approved unanimously 6-0. And review applications for a new committee member. What I'm going to do is give an opportunity to Angela to make a comment. But before I do that, I do want to make a statement. And that is that, as we all know, Angela came to me and communicated that she just didn't want to, but she would have to step down from the board of the committee simply because of her workload was more than she can handle, and she was being overwhelmed as a board member on the HOA. I have not gotten into the details personally, but I understand there has been some change in that, and she has additional time apparently. At that time, I asked her not to step down until we had a replacement. I didn't want to be in a situation where the committee was operating shorthanded in case we have a problem getting the quorum. Because 6 is the same as 7, and it takes 4 people to have a quorum. In any case, since that time, Angela has come to us and expressed a desire to stay on the committee. She never did formally submit a resignation, so technically she hasn't really resigned. Nothing was given to us or to the Board of Supervisors. So Angela, do you have anything you'd like to say about that?
Yeah, I'd like to make a quick statement
Okay.
to the committee. In April and May, I was a little overwhelmed with the amount of extra hours that I needed to help volunteer, putting together the May and June Stoneybrook scoop publications, plus the May and June's community calendars due to the new office staff transitioning. Also recently, the Stoneybrook Social Committee was dissolved. That was one of my responsibilities, so now that time is more available. So now that I'm back to my regular schedule, I have the time that's needed to focus on my duties as a committee member. I've decided to stay with the Stoneybrook Advisory Committee. I really enjoy working with this team. Thank you. Angela D. Sullivan.
So you're going to submit that note to us in
Yes.
writing, or,
I'll email it.
okay, and make that available to Georgia?
I will.
Okay.
Is it necessary though?
Well, I'm not sure it is necessary, but I'd like the communication just to make it clear for the record, because right now what I'm going to say is, I'm going to thank the people who put in applications to be on the committee, and we will retain them. I anticipate there may be a need for additional members of the committee in the future. And when that time comes, we can have these three names to draw from. And I'd like you to hang on to those sheets of paper or make it a part of your record, or however you keep track of what goes on here, so that we can quickly review if we have to. So if someone suddenly wants to step down, we can move quickly to make a motion to appoint one of these three people, who, as far as I know, and Brian, I don't know if you have any idea, there were nobody else since prior to the 28th that got anything in other than these three. Just these three, okay? And just for the record, I'll read the names in. It's Margaret Feinberg, Kathleen Flaherty, and David Nickerson. I know Kathy and I know Margaret, obviously, but I do know David, but I understand he's a decent guy and someone to be considered. So with that said, your exercise was not in vain. We will retain those applications, and if we need to add somebody, we'll pick from that group. Is everyone okay with that?
During that time, if there is a need, will we be able to like interview each of those?
At this point, yes, I would say. In fact, we could have interviewed them and brought them in this time.
Not just go over a resume.
That's correct. I agree with that. And that would be something I would suggest to whoever was checking at that time. So with that said, I think we can move on from review applications. I think all three are viable candidates and to be considered. So appointing committee member to review the minutes. That would mean that Angela would continue to
Yes.
review the minutes. So that's not necessary. We can move on from that point. Propose a new meeting time of 9 a.m. I'll open that up to discussion. If anybody thinks 9 a.m. is a good time or not a good time,
That's my work schedule, is usually from 8 to 10 a.m., 7 days a week.
so that doesn't work for you. Anybody else?
I like this time better.
I like 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock is better.
2 o'clock is gonna be extremely hard if I have to pick up the kids from school, because I picked them up at 3, but it was hard at 3.
So do you want to make it 1?
I don't know that one's good for Gateway if the time's available, and if, how lunch hours fall.
I think I brought up 9 last time is because it was just the middle of the day thing, end of the day, it's just kind of just weird. You have to stop what you're doing. I had to figure out what I was doing, come down here. And I know the kids are in school that time.
So therefore, there will be no motions to change the time from 2 o'clock.
Well, if we needed to have more discussion, so 11 o'clock wouldn't work either.
11 o'clock?
Nah, that's it.
I was just trying to think, it's like right before lunch versus like 2 o'clock is after lunch. So 11's not a good one.
Well, we'll run into their lunch hours too.
Okay.
Morning?
People go to lunch.
Matt, you're just
You're
told.
tired.
I'm retired. I'm retiring from more functions also. Not
I
this
will
one.
say this, one problem with that, and you should go to lunch at noon.
Here's the issue this morning.
Yeah.
From 8 o'clock to 12 o'clock, I'm outside chasing stormwater issues all day.
There you
I
go.
didn't get back till almost 12:30, so
So 2 o'clock's better for you, too.
special.
Well, he's retired too, isn't he?
You could came help me today.
I mean, what-
First set of clothes, okay?
When it
I
comes,
can
when it
believe
comes
how
down,
that was.
when it comes down, 2 o'clock will work, because if I do have to pick up the kids, at least I can have quiet time in the car and do a phone meeting,
Okay, yeah, that's true.
And if I am in the area, I know I can be here for 30 minutes and then leave
Mhm.
40 minutes, knowing it takes 20 minutes to get the ECS. So yeah, 2 o'clock I would be fine with that.
So at
still.
this point in time, no motion for a change from 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock, it will remain 2 p.m.
Okay.
First, unless otherwise changed, first Wednesday in each month, okay? That will stay the same. All right, approve full year 2022 meeting schedule. I thought we had done that already, but I am willing, we have a copy in front of you. and essentially is the first Wednesdays of the month, unless like we had to move the last one up because of difficulty. Yeah, on this form, it still says 3 o'clock. I'm gonna change it to 2, so just that everybody knows, the sheet of paper that's in front of you says 3, but it's 2. So at 2 o'clock, as presented, the estimated full year 2022 meeting dates. Can I have a motion to approve it
So moved.
as amended to 2 o'clock?
Yeah.
And a second?
Second.
Second.
Second. All right, so Virginia made the motion and Angela seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
That's a done deal. Okay, security contract with Statewide. We did review this last week, and it had been forwarded to Tony. Did everyone have a chance just to look at it or receive an email concerning the changes?
With all the
He
striking.
really redlined a lot.
Tony's got to
I
make
think
a.
he charges to the line that he redlined. That's what he does, sends a bill out for that. In any case, I didn't have any problems with it. Anybody else?
I didn't understand half of
Yeah, I
what he said.
thought so too.
Standard.
Can I have a motion to approve the amended
Question.
contract?
Question.
Go ahead.
The only thing I found that to clarify, this was all done recently. Joe did it, or Tony did it. Now, has Tarja reviewed this and approved it?
He wrote it.
He
Yeah.
did it.
Joe took the recommendations from Tony Pierce.
Yeah.
And made all the changes that he recommended. And
The concern I have is the signature page still indicates July 2nd, which indicates that he signed it before all the changes were made.
I see.
And that, just kind of administrative stuff, but I'm not sure.
That's a good point and a valid
Yeah.
point. I
I'm trying
agree.
to find it right now.
It kind of indicates, the date that he signed it kind of indicates that he's approved it or he's in
What?
concurrent.
You know what he probably did? He took the electronic version that he had, put all the changes in, and then sent it back.
Yeah, no
And didn't
question.
print it
No
outside
question.
and scan it back in.
Yeah.
You know, and I'll tell you what, we'll address that. Maybe you can get him to print out or just do the signature page and send it to us.
Yeah,
Okay.
that would be good, just to.
No, it's a valid point. Now, I've asked Joe to come tomorrow, so if there is an issue and they need a real signature, hopefully he'll be here.
He said, he told us at the meeting Monday he was coming.
Okay. Yes. Tomorrow.
I can't
This-
find it.
Yeah, this has been, exactly.
One Doug signed.
Well, that one that you can
Maybe
copy.
even, they may change that signature page, just if we can get it done even.
No,
before that.
I just didn't have it. I'm just trying to figure out if I actually have it.
It was on the last copy we got.
Okay. Is that in print?
Okay, so. Did we take a vote on this?
I don't think we did.
No, we did take a vote because Warren brought up a point about the signature, a valid point. So assuming that we're going to the amendments that have been made and that the signature page will be dealt with tomorrow, are we in favor of forwarding this to the Board of Supervisors for their approval?
Well, technically, he'd have to sign it again anyways, because wouldn't you have to sign it again anyways? Once we approve it, they approve it, then he signs?
He will once him and the chair.
There you go. So the signature makes no difference.
Possibly, could be academic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Signature makes no difference.
He can sign it,
Nope, doesn't even make a
he can
difference.
sign tomorrow then after that.
Or require a
All right, so all in favor?
Aye.
Did you make a motion second? I'll make a motion to approve the statewide contract for the Gateway House.
I'll second.
Okay, I'm gonna give the motion to JT and a second to Chris Capiel. I gotta watch the Chris's here. Get straight. All right, we're all the way down to budget discussion.
Call the roll.
No, tree.
How about the trees?
The
How
tree.
about the trees?
number
You
8.
got the wrong, you got the wrong
Oh,
agenda.
all right, I thought I did. I'm sorry.
We did, but then we jumped to the second.
Okay, I'm sorry. And all in favor, it was 6-0 unanimous to approve the security contract.
Aye.
Okay. No, it was done. Tree project on Pebblebrook.
Yes.
All right, this is Warren's baby. We're gonna give him a few minutes to talk about this.
We talked about the 5 trees near the lift station. L has reviewed it. She's in concurrence with it. They got a proposal, or two proposals, one from Personal Touch and one from somebody else. I got it here somewhere. Joshua Tree, to take the 5 trees out and plant, by their standard here, 5 sable palms in their place. Those are the oriental orchids that fall apart and stuff. And we decided that best thing to do would be to take them out, put sables in, because that matches the area there. Plus they can put them in the same time they take them out.
Question, didn't L suggest 4 sable palms?
Yes, but I want to keep 5. I'll tell you about the 5.
I got it.
Where are these sable palms going again?
Huh?
Where are they going?
Show the picture.
Right there where we're taking the trees out, we're going to put sable palms in there because they will go with the decor that we already have right there.
The location of those
The
trees.
location will be right by where the trees are,
I
Where the
believe
trees are.
previously we had,
Across from Jim's.
just past the first lift station.
Okay.
yeah, we had submitted pictures, I think, several meetings ago. There you go.
There
I
we
don't
go.
think they use it.
Since that time that we have this is $4,500 to do all that. We found that at Pebble Brook, at Stone Valley Loop, a gentleman putting in a pool, got 2 oak trees on Gateway property, about 10 feet from his house. Roots are already at his house. Took out his water line at one point, and talking with Ellie, she said the trees should come out because the roots may already be underneath because the thickness of the stuff was pretty bad.
What address are we talking about? 501, 500, or 696?
It's
So that would
6,000.
be
690,
696.
This
Yeah.
is- You're talking about the house next to Ronnie.
Ronnie, right,
Okay.
Willow Cash Ronnie.
Now, I just want to verify for the record
Yeah.
that these trees are on Gateway.
Yes, Elle come out and we looked at it, and she looked at it, she come back, pulled out the mapping, she emailed me, I got an email from her here saying that those trees are on Gateway property, and be up to us to pay for that cost to do that. To take those trees out, she recommended to take those trees out. My thought is that since we already have 5 sables, there's an area there that we could put a sable, which would not harm or get in the way of the other stuff there too. And her and I have discussed this and kind of in concurrence with what that needs to be. What I would,
I'm sorry, when we remove these trees, you want to grind the stump on one
yeah,
of them?
oh yeah. That's all
And the
part-
other one, what will we do? Or just grind the stump on both and then
Yeah.
plant the
Yeah,
sable in a
just one,
different
because
place?
he's probably gonna have to take some of the palm trees out he has on his property at some point, because they're really close to. I don't know if they put all those trees in and then built the house up to them or what. I can't
Could have.
imagine
Yeah,
them
could have.
doing that particular
Well,
thing.
remember when they put the trees in, built the house, the tree was
Yeah,
only
well, that
bigger
would
than a
be-
flagpole.
And this for those, that's what it looks like. Not knowing what that cost is going to be and I would prefer, since the lowest bid on these was from Personal Touch for $4,500 to do the other 5, is to go to them and ask them the cost to take these other trees out at the same time, and with a cost not to exceed $6,500
For everything.
for everything. And we can take that out of and I'll have to check with Laura to see if it actually have to move the money. But there is a plant replacement account, which has not hardly been used this year.
We talked about it.
Yeah, and moving $6,500 from there over to the other cost, the other landscaping maintenance thing. We may not have to move the money, but I'll have to check with Laura to make sure that we do it right and get her emails and stuff.
Are taking these oak trees going to be that much more trouble?
I think because of the location, they're gonna have to be
Because
careful.
you're giving them more room to charge more for the oak than what we're paying for the removal of
Yeah,
the
Right,
orchid trees.
because where the other trees are, they're a little smaller tree and there are no houses around this. When you're talking, less than 20 feet from the house, and the roots are there, they already took out a big limb that was out hanging out over the house. I already took that out at one point. I think this is only fair because there's just nothing but roots down through there. And for those that didn't know, when they took the water line out, the plumber come out and his original plan was to go from the meter straight back. Well, he started digging and found out that there's too many roots down there. So then he decided, I got an idea. They run it up to the pathway, trenched right along the pathway down and took it back into the house. But he was caught, so he had to come back down and put it the right way. I think we caught him, our villa board caught him, and then Gateway people were out there. I'm not sure who it was, but out there and said, you can't do that.
That doesn't work, yeah.
Yeah.
What, are you okay with taking these 2 trees down right there? And we're gonna pay for it, but I wanna make sure you
I don't
have any
know.
opinion.
Jimmy Chip. And I'll
Every tree possible.
I know him, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, actually, it's probably smart, and I agree with Elle, because it's probably penetrating underneath the foundation of the house as well.
Well, I don't know if any of you guys made a comment.
I've gone
It's right
all
next
over
to an
this
FPL
without-
transformer. They're getting 2 trees right between an FPL transformer.
Yeah, what's right next, and that's what they're, that's why I want to get them out there to take a look at.
Don't cut the wrong black.
So.
I'm gonna tell you,
with the
electromagnetic fields make those roots grow too. I'm convinced of that after having seen things years ago, and they could be wrapping around those wires.
The total cost is,
Not to exceed $6,500. I hate to do that, but I want to get this done
Yeah.
while we got rainy season going on.
It's about the only thing I think
Yeah.
way we can legitimately approve it at
Yeah.
this time, because we don't have a legitimate quote for those 2 additional.
No, not yet, no. And I'll hopefully get them this week.
And maybe we can do a little bit more, better than 65. I mean, they're
Yeah,
already out
that's true.
there.
I just want to have that money, and I don't know if we'll have to move the money. I'll check with Laura before, if we have to move the money, because both accounts that we're using are landscaping.
Well, I do not believe that Laura has the authority to move $10,000. And I believe that this is legit to be taking out
Oh, yeah.
plant replacement. If she needs an email or approval from
Yeah.
me, she can ask for it. And I'll send it to her.
I can write it and send it to you so you can,
Not a problem.
I'll get it to myself.
Anybody have any more discussion on the subject?
I just have a silly question. Once they take down the tree and they grind it down, do they put some type, these are big trees, those are
Mhm.
big.
Yeah.
Do they put something in there that'll kill the roots
They do.
also?
They
They just
They
actually
don't, yeah, they'll go. Yeah. they'll go.
In fact, if anything was gonna happen, the roots are gonna rot, probably gonna do a little sinkhole.
Okay.
It takes a few years.
Yeah, it does.
So it takes
Yeah,
2
We'll be moved out of there by then.
Nice place to fall into when you're like 30 years old.
So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I vote 6-0, unanimous.
How much are they charging you for the Sable palms?
They didn't,
Break it down.
Personal Touch didn't give a cost per tree. They gave a total. The other, Joshua gave us a cost for the 5 cables was $2,000
For 5 staples?
for 5 cables, 10,
That seems pretty high.
Yeah,
yeah,
but they're
10 to 15 feet high. 10 to 15 feet high, yeah.
Yeah, let me say this, so that's why we kept the 5, because you're gonna put one of.
Put one down there
Down
instead of,
there. So essentially, you're saying we're giving them a $2,000 or $1,000 a tree to take each of those
yeah, well,
oak trees down.
want to have enough, just because that is,
Yeah.
it's very close to that house.
I understand, and I agree, but we should certainly try to see if we can. do a
Oh,
little
no
bit
question, no question, yeah.
better. Okay.
Yeah, I have to maybe get Jim or L, and I'll get a hold of Personal Touch and go out and make sure we
Reach out to Jim,
Yeah,
get a hold of Eisner. Okay.
works for
Then
me.
you get a official quote.
All right, 6-0 vote, that's approved.
Okay, thank you.
Now we can get, no problem, to the budget discussion. Shall I lead the way on that one? I'm gonna have a few things to say tomorrow, and I probably won't be the only one, and then there's gonna be a budget meeting on the 19th. And the issue is that we have many communities, only in Gateway, that do not pay anything extra, but they pay the total amount into the 001 fund, all pay the equal amount per community and per door. At this point in time, sometimes that issue is forgotten when we are compared to another community, Pelican, which does not pay directly into the 001 fund. What they pay into the 001 fund is billed to them and they pay it. And virtually all that money is spent on things that are in Pelican. So very little money gets paid to actually operate the Gateway facility and the district. The exception is, for the most part, is staff expenses. But remember, because they do not pay into the 001 fund directly, they are charged to the 002 account for staff. What has happened in the past, this is not the first time. This subject's come up probably 3-4 times before. Someone looks at what we pay and says, oh, they're not paying enough. And on this current budget, they are literally 3.5 times it's going up what we have paid in the past. And the problem that I have with it, and I think we all should have with this, is that the money that is charged to the 004 account should only be an increment above what we pay to staff, specifically for things like when Brian comes out and deals with a sidewalk issue, a road issue, or something that we need to do. Now, anything that has to be done, we tend to pay for it, especially sidewalk and road repairs. We pay for them. So it isn't coming out of the 001 fund. But what I'm afraid is happening is that every time staff here, certain members of staff, do something related to Stoneybrook, it's considered an 004 item, and that's not the case. 004 items should specifically be only for those incremental things pertaining to the assets they own, and those are the assets of the roads and the sidewalks, not the lift stations, not the drainage, not the lakes, and I can go on whatever else they have. Lift stations, or everything has its category that pays for it. We pay the full boat for all that stuff. Everything else in Gateway, the Gateway does for any other community here, we pay the same amount of money. The only thing we should be paying on payroll in that budget is specifically for time spent on those two items. And that's my point. In fact, it has been recommended to us that Gateway would like to spend less staff time with our plantings and landscaping within Gateway, within Stoneybrook, simply because of the fact that some of that is not within Gateway property. Am I correct on that?
Yes, there's a track A and a track B.
Yeah. So in effect, that particular property, they're saying they'd like to back off on their staff time and that we take care of it. And I have suggested to our HOA board, hear that? That a committee be set up to oversee these things. And not be our responsibility, because it's difficult for us. We're outside this meeting room, our hands are communicating, they're somewhat tied. But an HOA committee should be set up, because if it's HOA property, common land, then really that's where that responsibility to overlook or oversee should lie. And as far as paying for it, we have a budget here. We could, if we desire, continue to keep that going. And it has certain tax advantages, sales tax. And I don't think you have a problem with that, do you? You do? No. Okay. In any case, and I don't want to get into naming members of the staff that we're getting paid with, that we're paying for, but we're getting charged 5% for a handful of people and 10% for one other person. Some of them I'm okay with, but there are individuals that absolutely do not put that kind of time into our roads and into our sidewalks. Does everybody get what I'm saying?
I get it.
Okay? Anybody have a problem with what I'm saying?
I think it needs to be more clarified for our community, though. 'Cause we know how the structure works. We know how we know how it works. We know how it's paid. We know how the accounts work. The general residents, the 770 homes out there besides us.
I'm going to agree with that, and that can be discussed at an HOA board meeting, but that's not where the issue here lies, where it needs to be. We need to convince some people. And I intend to stand up at the board meeting tomorrow and discuss this. And I already have, but I'm gonna do it one more time, and hopefully there'll be others, to make the comment that we should only be paying for staff time that specifically, if it's coming out of the 004 budget, should be dealing with the roads or the sidewalks. Now,
And $26,000 doesn't that's
Oh,
not
and
justified.
plus all the other ancillary expenses that come with that, it gets us up to $35,000. Okay? And that's a double charge. We're paying for some of that time twice. That's my opinion on it. And I want to make that clear. That's how I feel about it. I feel strongly that I'm right. Anybody have any comments on that?
Not on that specific, but I did have a question on the billing process, just over time back when we had previous office staff on the Gates house and our budget line and how that got decreased. I've just seen different communication going back and forth. Which budget does that come out of?
I'm not sure I understand your question, Andrew.
Sorry. For the gatehouse, the billing on repairs, I guess maybe it's the gates, that the repairs are.
Oh, you're talking about repairs. Well, what happened there is that we burned through the money that we had budgeted for the repairs to the gates in the gatehouse. Now, keep in mind, earlier, we had repaired the air conditioner and paid for that. We moved money from another account over to that and said, fine, yeah, that's our responsibility. We did that and we had money. That's one of the reasons in every budget year, we put $10,000 additional in to go in this like reserve account that we can dip into for unexpected things. But what's happened is, well, first of all, there were bills for repairs to our gates that were getting sent directly to Gateway. We were not seeing them. And they were going, and they were calling Cypress. And Cypress is expensive to do that work. And I don't know why that was going on. We would not have approved it. I certainly wouldn't have not gotten by me, not to mention the fact that it looked like we were paying for the same thing over and over again. But it came to be made aware that apparently some of that was due to damage by residents and vendors that were coming into the community. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
Well, lo and behold, I requested, because there's been a communication between myself and others and from Chad, our treasurer. And I questioned, okay, well, if this was all repairs to gate, then it must be from damage done. Did we collect any insurance funds? And I've been told that, yeah, there were some insurance payments, correct?
I know there have been a couple of restitutions, either from the resident or wherever it comes from.
Wherever it came from. My point is, right now, we're being questioned because that account to do the repairs at the gate is empty. It's dry. We've tapped it out. And he wants us to come up with some money from somewhere else and move it over. But you know what? What happened to the money from the restitution, whether it was insurance or residents? That should go back in the 004 fund to pay the subsequent other bills that we get.
It probably went into the HOA general.
Yeah, and
That's where it went, probably. That's where it went.
I stood up in a meeting some months ago and asked this question, never got a reply. And now I put it in an email as a response to something he asked for us to pay it. And I don't have a response yet. So that money should go in. What's that?
Who's this from?
I have to say, that money should go into the 004 fund. We should find out how much restitution we did receive over these damages. If it was paid by the 004 fund, that's where it should go.
JT, me.
On just what
Hold
you
on,
said.
hold on. Hello?
Yeah, hello?
Chad's on.
Chad, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, well, where did that money go?
I don't know. I'm not aware of any money. If Chris is available or aware of it, then
So you're not aware of any restitution or money that was paid for the damage done to our gates?
no.
How can that be?
I know it was sought out. I mean, it was even back as far as when Shannon was here, which was last quarter of last year. And I know she said, yep, we got the plate number, or we got this, or we got that, we're gonna be now. What the outcome was, I never saw a check, but then I would. So we'd have to follow up with Castle's records.
We got to find out from Castle if they received any money.
Well, I know in the past, this is in the past, this goes back a few years. We find people who have damaged the garage or damaged the gate. They've paid for the damage directly to the HOA. I mean, I know probably 3 different homes. I never thought about which account it needed to go back into. But I know people have paid for it in the past.
Okay, so we need to know where that money went, and maybe our management company has the answer, but that's where the money should be coming from. And if money was collected from that, then that should be reimbursed to the 004 account, and then we'll have money to pay some of the other bills that come in. And I don't know why we got a bill for $250 this time that you were questioning. What's that about?
I don't know anything about, I have the most recent bill that's in limbo until you and Chad figure out how we're gonna pay it.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I can look it up and see the exact particulars.
What was it? Was it for
I
damage
think
done
that-
by a
No, I
resident?
think that was the broken sensor in the ground on the exit side that always kept the gates up because it would register the car coming in, but it wouldn't register the car to shut the gate.
Oh,
And they
so
had
it
to
was all,
replace the sensor wire in the ground.
okay. Well, that's fine,
That was the last time they were out for repair.
but then we need to get some money from, and this is not the first time. Let me tell you, there have been many times in the past where the HOA has paid for things through the, has given money to pay for items that were under the purview of this committee. And the most expensive was the pathway in the past. In fact, split that bill with the HOA.
2 points I'd like to make. One, we need to do an audit to find out where that is, where that money's at, because I think that's gonna mount up over the years, because last I heard was about $500 to do this stuff. If all that money, if someone's paying for it, it's coming back.
Yeah, I'm willing to bet you we've received $1,500, $2,000.
I think
If not
there's
more.
one there. And then two, it's happening more and more, it seems like. We have a contract with a company that's supposed to come out and repair them. Everybody knows that we just signed a contract with them to do that.
That's for monthly PM.
Okay, then who do we call to come out and do a broken,
The same company.
the same company? So we have a
Right.
contract to do that. So then we call somebody else to come out.
No, this was in the confusion, probably back in January, when we had a new cam come in. They didn't know what to do, and they just called probably C for Cypress, because it comes before N for new IQ, and they just called to get it fixed. And that's why we got a couple of bills.
Well, I think if
first
they
quarter
call
of
the
this year.
wrong company to come out and fix the gate, the HOA should pay for it. That's the only way we're gonna stop that and have them going to that. Now, I don't know if you have an operations manual where it tell them what to do in certain instances and who to call.
I don't think it's the security company that called.
Well,
Was it
No,
the
they're not authorized.
Well, either way,
Okay, I apologize.
if it's called by someone not to come bring the contract company out, then they should pay for it. We shouldn't have to worry about it. And then last thing, now, I mentioned this to Joe in an email I had. We probably don't make a police report on when the gate comes down. But that falls under the definition of a traffic crash. Anytime there's damage to a moving vehicle, no matter what, it's a traffic crash. And for that type of crash, it's a phone call to the sheriff's office, and you get the information, you get the insurance, all this information, and it's there.
Well, now you're just second guessing. Now you're just contradicting yourself. Because you said before that the Lee County Sheriff can't come in our community because that's
They
considered.
can
private.
come in to investigate that, and they can investigate
But They
crashes
can't
on,
issue a traffic ticket if they can't issue a speeding.
they're probably not gonna issue one because they can't, but they can write up a report the same way as they can come out to a home for a burglary or something else. It's still crash, it's still a crime.
How is that person gonna?
But if you're not gonna do it, that's fine. I mean, you can do what you wanna do, but the whole thing comes down, we need to be able to follow up and make sure that when these gates come down, if it's not the gate's problem, it's because somebody was tailgating through or somebody messed up somehow and the wrong people come out, we shouldn't have to be putting the 04 money out to pay for it and then collect money from someone else and it goes into your coffers. I think that's one thing I think we have to be very careful about.
Well, I'll go a step further than that, and I know that issue is a separate issue. But when the board, the HOA, spends money or makes decisions to spend money that's going to be paid out of the 004 fund, out of the Gateway funds, because don't remember, Gateway considers that their money. They think once we pay it in, it's theirs.
Yes.
I just want to say, we need to know about it. we need to find out what's going on, because we're the ones that oversee it, and if we're gonna oversee it, we gotta know what's happening, what's getting sent to them. And I'm not saying we gotta see each and everything, but we should be copied on it at the very least, via email, something.
Well, do they send the bill directly to Laura or do they send it to Infomart?
Hang on a
I'm
second.
hoping they would send it to.
Can I ask someone in the audience there, Margaret?
I would hope they would send it to Laura
Laura.
because Laura keeps better track on it, I think, than Infomart. And we get the information.
I think they're processed here, if they go to Infomart.
Goes accounts.
That's what I would
payable,
think it would be, yeah.
But
So it would go through.
Your
Laura?
your invoices go through accounts
Yeah, they have to
payable,
be coded in here.
but it has to be coded in here by
Yeah,
Julie.
and is it Laura that codes it or someone else?
Well, Julie does, but Laura's copied on it, so is accounts payable,
Yeah.
which is Infomart.
just want to make sure they're not sending it directly. I don't even know if they even have the address to Infomart.
Even if it comes into here, we have to send to accounts payable and copy those.
All I could say is that for us to keep track of the accounts, we need to know about, what's getting paid. It's one thing for contracted regular payments on a monthly basis. I probably don't need to see that unless there's something out of the ordinary, but for items that are special, one-time, specific items like these repairs, we need to see that. And because some of them we may have a problem with. We don't know, maybe overpaid, overcharged, or maybe we're going to the wrong people.
Do we need a treasurer on this committee?
No, I don't think so.
Now, are our office people getting the bill and then sending it here? Or is it going directly here? And I can stop them from sending,
I
forwarding
don't
invoices.
mind them sending it directly here if we are copied on it. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm finding out about this stuff 2-3 months later, sometimes longer, that something's passed through and then winds up getting paid. And it isn't until it's out of the account and I'm questioning where'd that money go. That's how we sometimes find out about it.
Correct. We got the same issue with some auto bills in the HOA.
Yeah.
We don't see them. Chad and I don't approve them. They're paid. We're like, we never saw these bills.
Well,
Right now, I'm trying to get every invoice.
no, it's one thing, like landscaping. I think it's like 12+ grand, thereabouts, let's say, whatever it is. And it's a routine monthly payment. I think it's about $118,000 this year, whatever that breaks down to over 12 months. If something extra comes in above that, we need to see. It should just pass through the system and get paid. That's my concern. That's why when we saw that number for landscaping, when it came down to budget time, that was why we were so shocked. Where the hell did this come from? I think it was like $160,000, way over what we had budgeted. In any case, on this particular thing, and Chad, if you're still listening, we need to know what happened to insurance money or reimbursement for the damage done. Because if you got money, it should be coming to the 004, and then it makes this a moot point. We shouldn't be really discussing this, but things that are damaged by residents also, are our cameras back working yet? Are we recording what's going on out
Yes.
there? We are,
So
so
done last week. We had 28 cameras.
wonderful.
Hey, Joe.
4 more, which.
Hold on, Chad's trying to say something.
Go ahead, Chad.
Hey, Joe, no, I agree with you. That if there's money that the HOA collected for those damages, it should go back to the 004 account because that's where those repairs are paid out of. I wasn't aware of any money being recouped. I will go back in the financials and specifically look for some revenues that would have come in. If you have Chris, if you know kind of about when these incidents happened, it'll help me pinpoint the financials to look at, but I'm not.
That Allied should have, not Allied,
Castle.
have that information, because these are unintended revenue. They should be somehow noted or, asterisk. There should be a way of identifying. And I just want to remind you that our budget goes back to October 1st. So
We'd have to start looking at.
You got to look into that fourth quarter of last year also.
Yeah, because Shannon did mention a couple to me. I mean, there aren't a lot, and some of them wound up being the gate's fault, and the HOA had to pay to repair the damage to the vehicles and stuff. That's a whole separate item, and that really.
How far
doesn't fit
back
with-
do we want to go?
I don't think we
I
want
would
to
just
dig
do
up
this
old.
fiscal year,
Yeah, I would say fiscal
October
year.
1st of 2023.
Just for the budget?
Yeah, I'm not
Okay.
looking to dig up stone.
Cause it's our money, it's our money no matter,
It's one or
it's,
the other.
yeah.
It's just a question of where it's coming
They
from.
can't spend it anywhere but Stony.
Yeah.
It's their money, but they can't spend it anywhere but Stony.
So
Sure,
can
you sure
this-
about that?
So can
Well,
so
I have
can-
found indications in different areas where they has been spent
Other places.
out Stony Brook.
All right, so in any
Not
case,
recent.
also keep in mind, Chad, until we get, something from reimbursement for any collected money, I don't think that you guys should have a problem paying out of your general fund for this bill for that. And when we get the money, we can reimburse you for that specific bill. And we will, you follow what I'm saying on that?
This isn't a reimbursable bill. Oh, reimburse the
The
250 that we laid out.
Exactly.
We'll have gotten the
Lay the
extra. Okay.
250 out. The president has authority up to 750, I think, to pay these kind of things. That shouldn't be a problem. And as
All
far as,
We'll look into it.
What, Chad?
I said, yeah, well, I'll certainly look into it and we'll try to move that invoice along. One other thing, I know you had mentioned that the account code for gatehouse repair and maintenance, you had moved money into that for the air conditioner, but I'm looking at the June financials and it doesn't look like there was any money added to that. It was annual budget was 10,000 and it's still allocated at 10,000. There's not any adjustments to that budget line. So just want to let you know about that.
talking about the money for the gatehouse repairs. It's
Yeah,
hard
house repair and maintenance, yeah.
to bring it.
That's where the air conditioner came out of.
Well, let me say this, when the bill came in for the air conditioner, the way we paid it is we put money in specifically for that air conditioner. So it wasn't a formal change in the budget. It was just money was moved from one account to another, and then a check went out to pay for the air conditioner. That's my-
Right, what I'm saying is that it doesn't reflect that there was money added to that account for that. So whether it was, you say it was moved, it doesn't indicate it. Regardless, I'm sure that there's
Adding money to the account, but we did,
Okay,
One account to another.
to be able to pay it, yeah.
Can we call him on this one?
We could.
Yeah, hey, Chad?
Hey, you had moved on the last one?
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't want him, I don't know if he wants to give his number back on a open source.
I have it.
Do you have his phone number? Hey, Chad, we're gonna call you just so we can hear you, okay?
Try now. See
oh, okay, sure.
Gotcha.
That's better.
Hold on. Say, keep talking, Chad.
Yeah, hello, you there?
There
You
we
hear
go.
me?
Little feedback, but we can probably put up
Let's
the
try
chat.
this. How about now?
Okay.
Oh, much better.
Okay, give it a shot. So what were you saying? Because we really couldn't hear you.
Oh, I was just saying it didn't look like money was moved from one account into that gatehouse repair and maintenance. It says that the annual budget was 10,000 and 7,500 of that 10,000. I'm sorry, $10,371 of that 10,000 has been spent. It doesn't show that there was money put into that account code. So, I don't know if they formally moved it into that account code or if they're just drawing money out of it. Because at the end of the day, the budget will,
Yeah,
the overall budget will cover it.
what you're saying now, but I'm not 100% sure about that and how Laura handled that. If it was one of those kind of moves that really didn't wind up on any end of the month statement or anything, it might have been moved in and immediately turned around and sent out a check. I don't know. But I do know that's how we paid for it. And was
Okay.
that at the end of last year? Was
Yes,
that-
it was, either at the end or just the beginning. It was in this budget, it was in the last budget.
It's in this, yeah,
And
current.
it was right there at that
Yeah,
time.
And that's all I can tell you. That's the money was moved over to be able to pay for that. And it came out of the money from the reserve account that we had built up. If you want to communicate with Laura and ask her, how did it show up on the dispersals? I don't know. I can't recall. Okay?
So I have a question. Does this committee actually need to send in a written request for capital management and also the HOA treasurer to do the audit? To make sure this gets done? Is that a verbal?
Audit may be a strong word. I don't know. you
A
know,
written request, what am I asking?
to find out exactly what.
Details from October.
Well, we have 3 board members here and 1 on the phone. I mean, I think we know that we need to.
Oh, yeah, and I'm sure Chad, he has the contact at Castle. Chad, is that contact, can you get in touch with that woman or guy, or is it still, do I need to still call Sarah?
You probably still need to call Sarah. They're not very responsive up in their headquarters.
boy, that's disappointing.
I just want to make sure it's in some
We have a
specific
dedicated
email
person
request.
that he should be able to pick up a phone at his house and it should run at that person's desk. I mean,
I would like it in writing that we're requesting. Like you said, audits maybe as well, or a review from that specific budget line item.
Well, let it be said for the minutes then, that we have requested
Okay.
to the board, both via the treasurer and the president that sits on this committee,
Okay.
to try to get to the bottom of how much money since October 1st of 2020 was collected as a reimbursement for repairs to the gatehouse, gate arms, whatever needed to be done.
Now, does that go both ways? If the HOA made repairs and that were taken out of our HOA budget, do we need to come and collect money from the 004?
We would need to see the invoices and agree that they were valid and should have been.
Chad, do you know any, or Chris and Chad, do you guys know of any items that were repaired that came out of our HOA account? Our general fund or repairs to the gatehouse?
I know there was some expenses, but it was more network based. I mean, we paid Cypress Access a couple $1,000s to come out and look at the network in the, but I figured that was more of a HOA issue rather than gatehouse and,
The way it's been treated in the past, I agree.
yeah.
we'd have to look to see if we had any gate arm repairs that we paid for in the HOA that should have been forwarded to the 004. There may be some of those in there.
And I'll tell you, while you're doing that, if they do exist, then we need to get reimbursed for sales tax.
Yeah, they could all check, if they got money in and you put it in their accounts while they're doing the same thing.
I don't think we're gonna be able to do the sales tax thing because the check's already been paid. You know, having a company to.
Well, maybe the vendor. I know they probably paid the sales tax already. Paid for it. All right, small potatoes. All right, so anything else on that particular subject, budget discussion? This will to be continued. And really, that's our agenda. All right, I want to ask for audience comments at this time. I see one of the audience has left already, and the other one doesn't have any comments, questions?
I'm saving my comments for tomorrow, because it's budget related.
Gotcha. All right, I'm glad to hear that.
I actually did, and I'll share it with you, I did a breakdown of how much that, in real dollars, the 10%, 5%, 5%, 5% was of each of those salaries. And that's a lot of money.
I know.
Come on up, speak with Bowden.
That's
She'll do
all.
it tomorrow. She'll do it tomorrow. And there's no way.
I think you gave it to us, didn't you? Didn't you give it to me, or I thought I saw those numbers too?
Well, in any case, she didn't want to go any further, obviously. She's got her lips pursed there. But I will say this, that I know that Chris used to come into our meetings, but I can't imagine under any circumstance where Chris puts 5% of his time into our roads and our sidewalks. I just can't imagine that happening. And anything else that is done or thought he puts in or reviews to anything else in Stoneybrook comes out of the 001 fund, and we pay for that. That's a separate account.
What's Chris, I mean, this is public information. What's Chris's salary?
Soon to be 120.
So we're paying over,
It would be $6,000 plus all the other ancillary costs. You could probably tack another 20% up there. Easy. Health insurance,
And the
labor
other,
burden, retirement.
you'll have another new position added to that too as well.
at 5%,
Probably.
and probably would never put an eye on our, on
That's the
Stoneybrook.
assistant, John?
For that same price? Just to
Well-
die?
It's gonna be high.
About 100,000.
How much?
That assistant position's 90 to 100,000 is what they're posting that in. It's not
Get the
filled yet.
resume ready.
Don't really complain, you still do that to my kids. But let me say this, that, yeah, I don't see, we're paying for that out of Bill 01. Let's just flat out say, it. We're paying for that out of Bill 01. If they could show me, and they need to justify, because we'll be talking to an attorney otherwise, they need to justify how much time they're spending on our roads and our sidewalks, and how they can possibly rationalize doing what they're doing. It makes no sense at all. And I don't care if they're thinking about working on Stoneybrook, because every other community, I guarantee you, they put more time into Gateway Greens than they do in Stoneybrook. They don't pay anything extra.
I have no comment.
Right? No comment.
I do equally throughout the whole neighborhoods.
I got you.
Everyone's equal in Gateway.
That's right.
But some are more equal than others. What goes. And yeah, so, all right, let's go. I know we're probably gonna have at least one more discussion going on here. Anybody have comments among their committee? I'll start with Chris.
The only thing I want to bring to everyone's attention that may not know, because it may give us a little difficulty with getting that information we need through the castle records, that our CAM is out of COVID, and we do not have a return date. Strangely enough, she herself with her mother went to Peru, came back clean, caught it from her husband, who stayed here. We didn't-
And she never had any shots.
No, she didn't have a shot. But, so just where Gabby's doing an awesome job. And, you know, Castle has Scott from Pelican coming in on a daily basis, spends about an hour of his time, just in case they need any managerial assistance. But we lose our own CAM that can do things like look up in the payment system, and she'd be able to get this information, I'm sure.
Is she able to work from home? And
She does, but from the two times the first time I spoke to her, I didn't even know who I was talking
yeah, I don't want to get,
She's
I don't want to
pretty
get, I don't want to get into person on this.
I just want to say one thing, that's good information, but it's not really our committee.
Well, just to know that requests being made to the office can't be handled with the same precision and expertise that they normally are, because we don't have our CAM on site.
So would castle management have an accounting department that Chad could work directly with?
He's even got a name of a specific account that's for us, but I gotta get on Sarah again, because
The person's not responding apparently. All right, JT,
I've got nothing.
Angela,
I've got my comment.
Warren, I know you're chomping at the bit.
I've got at least an hour and a half, but I'll cut it down to 10 minutes.
I don't-
No.
I'm getting all the
Can
time
you
I
give
can
her
get.
in, what's your time, your 3 minutes to him, is that what you're doing?
I gave him my comment.
Digging also. You can read this.
Okay, that's right, Chad, I'm sorry, and who else is there? Cheryl's there, you got anything, Cheryl?
I had a different copy right there.
Okay, well, I don't know how we got.
That's not.
Flavia, excuse me, Flavia, we passed over, you got anything to say or any questions for us?
I mean, I do. I'll just address it.
Then ask them, please, this is an opportunity for us to answer them.
Well, and I don't know, because I did step out, so I don't know. I think JD had a good point into like, maybe for the other residents to be clear on the increases that you did, or the HOA did or did not agree. I don't know if it would be up to you at the HOA. The 5% that you mentioned, like specific, like, I guess coming up with the question of like, what are the ones that you don't agree, or you know, what the community does not agree that increase, you know, is valid?
She costs, we pay just like you do. The same amount of money.
I would say make the comment about the
About the-
5%
The
of
5%
Chris's.
increase above, that's what I'm asking, yes.
Well, the additional funds should only be incremental dollars paid for activity or thoughts or oversight of our roads and our sidewalks.
I don't disagree with that, but you said you agreed with 2 of the categories, but you didn't agree with others. So which ones that you agree and which ones that you don't agree? So I'm clear. So do you agree with the 5% for the district manager?
No.
No,
Okay,
absolutely
do
not.
you agree with the 10% for the administration, I think it is?
we do spend time talking and communicating with Georgia. And she would be the one exception to all of that.
Okay,
And even then, I'm not sure it's 10%,
okay,
because not everything we do with Georgia is really related to those specific items. And the one thing I do want to state, and just say it for the record, is that we pay like everybody else. The only exception to that is Pelican. Unfortunately, this is an issue that comes up every few years. It's not new. We've had this discussion before. We get compared to Pelican because Pelican pays X number of dollars and people think, well, Stoneybrook's not paying. Yeah, we are, because we do pay the basic fees. For example, if Brian comes in and he has an issue with the drain pipe or the sewer line or a lake issue, that's not for money. That should be coming out of the general fund. Or if it's a lift station, out of whatever fund that pays for that, for water and sewer. Too many times they look at it and think, oh, Stoneybrook should be paying more, because I did Stoneybrook work that day. But it wasn't specifically for the roads or the sidewalks. And now you're even gonna be doing less for us going forward, because you're gonna spend less time going over landscaping. When we bumped into you a week ago or something like
okay,
that.
hold on, I don't want to reach.
I'm sorry.
Let's go back to my first question.
Go ahead.
We just went 5 different things. I personally don't compare you with anybody else, and I'm one to stick with facts, and Brian will tell you that. So when I'm asking very specific and direct questions, so you don't agree with the district manager 5%?
No.
Okay, done. So you agree that there is an increase that should go for Georgia, not necessarily the 10%, but there is an agreement. So but general question, then I just want to know your mindset. We'll start with that.
Sure.
Then there is the 5% for the assistant district manager position. Do you agree with that or not?
No, absolutely not.
Okay. And then there was 2 more. There was the business manager, no, I got that, and then there was another 5% for the business manager. Do you agree with that? or no?
Well, the business manager does work for us, but she does work for every community.
I'm asking outside. I'm not asking on the
All the
001.
O4 funds,
Yeah.
pays the bills and all that.
Exactly, I'm not asking the 001. The 001, you guys should get exactly how everybody else is. The questions are above the 001 account, the business manager, do you think she's doing work for the 004 account that satisfied a 5% increase or any increase at all? So those are my questions, I guess.
Well, let me say this, I could be wrong, but let me ask Ward,
Yes,
in your opinion, because you know your wife probably gives you a little bit of feedback. Does that much time spent just paying 004 bill?
Oh, I don't know how much time is spent that way, but I think that
But it has to be looked at as that
every-
perspective.
every kind of business I've been in, that when someone else does your work for you, you have to pay for it.
Oh, I agree.
And I think the 04 fund with the money, the checks that she has to write, and she moved the money, 04 fund money, and all the work she does for the 04 fund, I think we should be paying something. Now, whether it be 5%, I don't know.
No, I agree something, I agree. I don't know if 5%
So
is,
then maybe for us, will be, either the question would be directed to staff, how did we come up with this 5%? How did we come up with this 10%? I think those are questions that need to be answered to the board and to you guys. And then maybe it'll be a shock and a surprise, because maybe we'll get an answer exactly about that, and it'll be a aha moment for all of us, or maybe not. So at least I'm happy that you agree that at least from, that we just spoke, 2 out of 4, you agree there should be an increase, not necessarily to the percentage that it is, but an increase. And then maybe tomorrow, when we're all sitting here, we can ask, how did we get into that percent number? How did we get into the 5% number? And you can just get more details and more into that piece. So that's the first kind of question. Does that make sense?
yeah.
Okay.
There are some other individuals who come into our community, but it doesn't necessarily have to do with walk roads or something. It is more about the general things that Gateway owns in every community. And I just don't want to be paying out of the 004 fund for some of those salaries. That I think one of our concerns, and I'm sure Margaret would agree with that. And we need some kind of rationalization or justification for that upcharge.
No,
That's how we see it.
and I don't disagree, and I think it goes both ways. and there's a price of doing business, and as long as we can justify and prove it, and say that's an overall, and I think you guys have a voice and should come up with an opinion. I mean, if you're logging the time outside, which probably is gonna even take more time, for any time spent out of the 01, 04 that is being used over there to kind of gauge, because you're kind of starting fresh with this, because a lot of this you never paid for it.
That's not entirely true. We've been paying for it all along.
You've been paying out of the 01 account.
No, out of the old work account. We've been paying all along.
We've always had a staff budget.
Yeah.
Always.
But it's only been.
But
About 10 grand.
Yeah, usually it's been running a little
But
bit
it was
over, a little
only,
bit under.
but it was only for
Only
receptionists,
for
yeah,
three.
not for those positions that we just talked about. That's what I mean. You
And
have
the 3 positions in the past were what?
receptionist, district manager.
No, public works and natural resources.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about Public Works. Why should Public Works be coming out of the 004?
Because any sidewalk or any road I do, and here's yours.
So that is specific.
That is mine.
Okay, what are
Public Works, right?
your Public
Yes.
Works? Okay,
I agree with that.
And my rate's up 50%. I'll make up the
Your
rest.
salary just went down.
That's all right.
When I hear Public Works, I think in terms
No,
of.
that would be-
Sewers and whatnot.
That would be,
Natural
in-
Should be in anything
resources
for
is
Ken.
Nell, and I don't think she's doing anything in our community.
not now, but Jim is.
It's all-
Jim,
What is he doing? Because you told us.
Jim is-
Doing the landscaping.
Jim is doing landscaping. The issue is you're continue to do landscaping until October when we do track A and track B that we discussed previously, where you're taking ownership of that track. Because it's actually your all's track to begin with. Gateway's just been maintaining that for the last
But
15
we're not
years.
talking about the current budget. We're talking about next year. So why is it on next year's budget?
That's.
Jim should be on there if you're doing landscaping.
But for now, but not for next year. He's not going to be doing it.
Well, that's something
My
we have to
understanding
discuss.
is that if we paid 5% for him,
Mhm.
that's for his whole section. And I mean, we don't pay 5% for L and 5% for Jim and 5% for this. We pay 5% to Public Works. I don't have a problem with paying 5% to Public Works because they have all that work.
Because they're
coming
working
from
on the
other people.
roads, they're working on the
But if
sidewalk.
we're charging 5% of each of them, then I think that's a little bit high. Because that would be roughly 15%. 5% of each of their salaries, that's a chunk of money.
They're saying we're getting into the upper 30s.
No, not quite.
And maybe that.
When you tack on the other, it is.
Because you're switching. This- People who go with zero. -5. International services.
You know, there was a time when we were paying the receptionist.
Why are we paying the receptionist?
Well, I'm going to get into that. We were paying for her because of the fact that she was actually doing a lot of work here and even.
But he handles all the mail coming in and separates it out and does that stuff.
But I believe that some of that's not done by her anymore. It's done by Georgia for us.
I don't know.
Well,
That's the staff question.
Yeah.
Who handles the minutes and how do we pay for that?
Georgia does.
So Georgia's doing all the minutes now? Wasn't it getting
Uh,
outsourced? Wasn't it getting outsourced for a while?
Oh, yeah, we'll get outsourced to Infomark.
Yeah.
But they listen to the tapes, I know. But the minutes are intentionally cut down. They got too detailed. And they were getting too long. Got to be ridiculous.
We were getting hours.
Yeah. So I believe those are the questions that, and I was, having a second conversation with Mario before. I think, at least for me, I would appreciate like any questions that you guys have, and I have talked to Mario a few times. I'm not opposed to you guys just sending me an email, like the specific question. So then it gives me time, because I want to give you guys answers, but sometimes when I'm sitting over there and then I have 1 minute to flip 20 pages, I may not be able to give you an answer. But I want nothing more than to give you an answer then and there, or follow up with you. So if you guys have the questions that you want to send me, I will work on it and try to get those answers. If I know right away, I'll send it to you right away. If not, at least I'll have it for tomorrow. So, we can work on it. So there's no more delay. I don't want to cause any more delay in giving answers when they're needed. Does that make sense?
Correct.
At least for me. That's what I can see when it comes to questions that I can answer. It's open. It's like my mailbox though.
That's one of the reasons we usually don't use that approach. We bring it up, discuss it here, because we do have this committee to discuss such things.
I'll share your email on our website.
What I mean, you can give me the questions and I won't necessarily answer. I will answer them at the meeting.
Mhm.
But at least I wanted to be able to look at, and instead of, thank you, we'll look into that, get back to you.
Well, I know that Margaret and I have talked about this, and I'm sure if you have communicated with her, that she has expressed some of her concerns about some of those individuals that we are being upcharged for. Because as if everything they do in our community, that's my concern, is considered an 004 charge. I don't want that to be the case, because it shouldn't be. We are paying like your community does, like Ed Tinkle's community does, and I know that they don't get upcharged either. And that should be considered when we're determining what we're paying for. So that's that issue. And did you have something else that you wanted to ask? You said you might have two things, I thought.
I did receive some emails in regards to the committee and how we stand with. So with the amount of people, Angela's.
If Joe shuts up long enough, I have a presentation to make on that.
So I kind of wrote this down, so I mean, take it from.
I've been working on this for a month.
So the same way I'm gonna stand with the current document, right? So as I stand, we didn't find another one. The 11 members is what we have. The 11 committee members, that the current document, the resolution, okay. So when we make a statement that we didn't want to lose anybody else, so we could have this, well, you don't have 11 members to start. So you're Angela staying or Angela leaving, right? You're in the same boat.
I've got the member from 2008 all the way up to right now.
So it's still the
Up and
11.
down, up and down, up and down.
Actually, it wasn't 11 in 2000.
No.
That changed when 3 members wanted to force their way onto the committee. And honestly, a former chairman acted beyond his capability and forced members and wanted to increase our committee. And what happened was that in order not to have outsiders take over the committee, that was the goal, we added 3 more members. So 6 came on at one time. We more than doubled. We didn't have enough places to sit everybody. It was dumb, but it was one of the things that was forced upon us. At a later meeting, it was brought up that we didn't want to let 11 happen. And it's my understanding that in the minutes, it said that request was tabled. It was not tabled.
Yes, it was tabled.
What was the vote?
5-0. I got a copy of it right here.
Okay, so how about that second comment? I'll wait for his presentation, then I'll add to it. We'll do that.
The vote was 5-0.
One of the things that arguably wasn't an opportunity to put it on the schedule for today is that we intend to request the Board of Supervisors to do what they said. And I can quote Pete Dorr, because it's not in the minutes. He said you shouldn't have 11. 7's a fine number. You guys should have whatever number you want anyway. And that's a quote from Pete Dorr, who used to be a chairman way back when he was declaring for. But it just happened. And the proof should be in the pudding. That's what we've had for years. We've had 7 going back to shortly after that case. And those people that joined the committee at that time that forced themselves up because they worked a deal with Gary, all stopped showing up. Eventually, all stopped showing up.
Not all, because I was on that.
No, the three that forced their way on stopped showing up and we had to remove.
So now we know there was an opportunity for the committee and the board to review that resolution and adopt it.
And we're gonna
That
make
was
a
an
proposal.
opportunity, so I'm gonna say, and I'm gonna have to agree with Warren, as of right now, the only thing that we have is the documents that we have, which was tabled, which was not approved, which is still 11 committee members. So having Angela remove or not, it would have made no difference, because if you were going to follow the document that was brought up and the city was supposed to have 11, you didn't have enough people to begin with. So you were in the same position. That's, I guess, what I.
So essentially what you're saying is that an arbitrary number that was made up improperly can be forced upon us, and all our meetings are invalid because most of the time we didn't have a quorum of 11 people. And I'm going to say that's not correct. And I think
No, I
that,
didn't say that.
you know, I'm just saying you need
Oh,
to
okay,
ask.
so don't ask me a question, Joe,
Okay,
and then
I'm
tell me
sorry.
what the answer is. So if I'll ask you to, if you ask me a question, tell me to answer, that's not what I said. So that may be a question that you have to ask Tony, and whatever Tony tells
Exactly.
you and me, that's gonna be the answer.
I agree. Because he should have some memory of what went down. Go ahead, Warren.
Okay. Trying to pick up from the rest of the story. I have researched this whole matter, and I've read minutes from 2008 to 2015 of the Board of Supervisors, and also several of the advisory committee to clarify some points. In 2009 was when the HOA turned the stuff back over to Gateway and stuff, and it was not until September 3rd of 2009, 3 people were appointed to the advisory committee: Toby Purse, Deanna Tucker, and Jerry Schultz. And then on September 17th, Brett Asbury was added to that. As we went along, and I'm going quickly on this, and then in April 29th of 2010, the board approved Dave Latham, Virginia Stacy, and Joe Mahalka to the advisory committee, and they accepted 1 resignation. Dave Latham was the president of the committee at the time, chairman of the committee at the time. It stayed pretty much down, and then, make sure my date, there was a motion to reduce it down to have 7 members, but as Joe had indicated, when they come back, they had a resolution 21215, that moved it up to 11 people, 2-year terms, and advised some of the things that the board would have to do. And really, there's really nothing in there that does that we've been really doing, that we've been directed to do. Then, as we went along, there's, with 11 people, as you can imagine, meeting a quorum was a problem. Joe mentioned it at several meetings that they couldn't get this. Supervisor Feinberg mentioned it several times at the meetings that there was nothing from the advisory committee because they couldn't get a quorum because of 11 people, because they needed 6 people for a quorum. Then as they went along, Joe had mentioned on February 6th meeting in 2014 that it should be reduced below 10, which makes it easier to form a quorum. They removed a person, and the motion was to reduce it from 11 to 9. Well, on February 19th, 2014, they introduced resolution 2014-12, which lowered it not to 7, but to 9. 9 people. It gave instructions on what the board was going to do, etc. This, at that time, Joe asked about changing that number to 7. There was a discussion, and then the motion was tabled on that date, never to come up again. The index on the resolutions all indicate that it was tabled and not ever brought up again. And that's pretty much where it stands. And I don't, they started on that and things, and there's different things in there that I think we need to discuss on another basis. I sent that copy around.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
The first.
just the first.
Oh, I'm sorry. And this is the one that was tabled. The information is on the back, the tables it. Now, I think most of us have been on committees, and having more than 7 people on a committee is a real problem and stuff. So, I think, and as I read those minutes over for those years, I always harass Joe about different things, but he was correct on a lot of things. And I really think the board paid no attention to us at all. they didn't do much for us at all, and they were shoving this stuff on us to do these things. And so now we're stuck with what it is, and basically a 2-year term. There's only one person on the board right now that's legit, and that's Chris. Nobody else is, because our dates go back to, I'm at February 2/19, Joe, April 2/10, Roller 8/12, Virginia 4/2010, Angela 2017, and JT 2012. Those are all the dates that everybody had. So we've been operating kind of, good as far as what we do, but then it comes down questionable. We have not been doing it because the only resolution that really applies to us is this one with 2012-15 with 11 members. Question could come up as to what takes precedent, the resolution, or there was a motion made and passed just prior to the one in 2014, lowering it down to 9. But again, the whole thing was tabled after that. Now, I don't like to go to a party and complain about it and not have a solution. And my solution is that we need to take our steps and say, this is what we want. This is a resolution that we want to propose to the board to handle. As you read through the minutes, you see where they said, well, get this to us and we'll put on the next agenda. Never have. Do this, give us a list of this, and never have. We just, as I say, we didn't get much respect as far as for reading those minutes. And doing time after time after time after time where there was no report from the advisory committee. Somewhere here, I have taken, and I think we need to, and since we can't do anything vote-wise, but I think it's good, I did a draft kind of resolution for the advisory committee, showing the 2012 and what changes I would recommend. All this stuff is on here. The one thing is the 2-year term. There was discussion by the board several times. That is kind of hard to do because trying to keep track of it and get every 2 years. I believe Pelican has gone to a 4-year term. So we should go to a 4-year term. It makes it longer. And just some things like that we need to say this is what it is. And we need to say what we're going to do. We have an MOU that kind of gives everything for the board to do. But there's nothing in that says what the advisory committee is going to do. And we've picked up things to do. But I think our resolution for 2021 should include what we feel and what we've been doing as part of the resolution. And we take this resolution to the board and say, this is what we want. And it's going to go to the board and it's going to go to Tony and he's going to legalese it quite a bit. But you'll see that this is pretty much the same format that we've used before for resolutions.
So I assume that you have a recommendation for the new rules for our committees.
Coming around to you now, Joe. And I think we should put it on the agenda for our next meeting so we can talk about it and make adjustments. There's a few things in there that are, my personal feeling, which I think is something that we need to discuss.
Next one, if you want to give somebody else on the board. Well, let me say this. I agree with the approach. I don't have a problem with that. I haven't read this, obviously. You have to see where we stand with this. But we can get it on the agenda for the next committee meeting.
Yes, right.
I do want to just correct one thing that you said, and that is the committee was always 5. It started as 5.
Started as 5 and
it didn't change until that incident that I described, that it jumped to 11. And that occurred because there were 2 groups of 3 that were added.
Right. And the one resolution that initially installed or developed the advisory committee, we can't find. We can't find the original one that, well,
the original one I have.
Okay, well, apparently they don't have it in the office because I can't find it. But anyway, but it's
Bill Knight that actually came up with that original system.
Yeah, but I think, we've been, no respect You know, you go and you listen to the people talking and what they're going on and what's going on here, there, the other place. And we're not there. We need to be there. And this is a good way to start and say, this is the resolution that we need to look at.
I do want to say this, not everything makes the minutes, and not everything that gets set up there makes the minutes at the podium. And I do recall on more than one occasion trying to get it approved to 7. And I do
Yes.
recall
Yes.
that Pete Dora said,
Yes.
it's your committee, do what you want.
Yeah.
And that's what it was, and that's why it probably never came up with a vote.
It come up with, obvious that you had mentioned 7 and that when they tabled that thing, like more information or whatever, but it was tabled and it's still tabled.
Never has any committee, well, neither of certainly Pelican, was forced to take new members or grow. That was never happened. And that was a game that was done by a former,
Be careful.
I know, a former chairman who heard a story for some people that showed up at a meeting here, okay, to complain. And the whole purpose was to try to take over this committee. And part of that was because they wanted to change the security company that was operating the games. And the 6 of them came to this meeting and they tried to get a husband and wife on this committee. And they were told, no, that you can't do that. And they wanted to actually force the issue. And when we knew this was coming, we had 3 more meetings of people that were willing to.
The argument that they brought up was, well, these people put in to be on this committee and we don't want to stop them from giving their opinion and being part of this committee. And that's in the minutes.
I agree.
Yeah, and that was their reasoning on it, but.
And I want to say something else, because it was in the minute, it was on the record, that in the audience was another resident of our community who happened to be on the committee that I asked. The chairman asked me, why don't you want this gentleman on your committee? I looked at him, the chairman. I can't say what came through my mind at that point in time, but I will tell you, I turned to him and said, he is on the committee. I'm the one that asked him to join it in the first place. So that's how tuned in he was to what was actually going on.
And if anybody wants to read all those minutes, Georgia sent them to me by email, and I got to thank Georgia because she went above and beyond on my public record.
Yeah, we're probably up
To get all that
to 12, we're
information.
probably up to 12% right now.
Hey,
When you do a public request, do you have to pay for that?
well, depends. All the stuff I've been getting is on the computer, so they just key it to me. And if they have to research it, there could be a cost. So
You have to-
make
I
copies.
think
You have
what
to print out
he's
paper
asking
copies,
is
yeah.
this committee bills for requests because you are a committee member.
No.
Does that happen?
No, if you
I've
do a
never-
public records request and you ask like paper copies, there is a surcharge.
There's a for the copy, I understand, correct.
One of the research stuff I did, I paid about $40 for
The whole
paper,
thing?
yeah, because they had to make copies of it. And now everything's on a computer.
Yeah.
And I just stopped at 2015.
So the public request now, that's, you said that if it's
You can do a public records request.
if it's computer based.
Yeah.
Agencies, municipalities, they can't charge cities, they can't charge anymore unless you have to file it.
I don't think so. because
Most of them don't charge you unless there's like tons of research has to be done. But if
I've
it's,
been-
most time, the clerical will take care of it, email it back to you or whatever, or send you to a link.
Okay.
Had a
If you
public
request
record Request from the Lee County Attorney's Office, and they didn't charge me anything, and also for Lee County Sheriff. And I've gotten a bunch of stuff from them, and they've never charged because everything's been computerized.
I would like to add one more point, just for the record, just a little bit to verify the history of this. Because after that whole game that got played out here, a certified letter went to our security company firing. And an RFP was sent out without any knowledge to this committee, to various security companies. All this was done without ours. I can't imagine that happening to the other community that has an advisory committee. And don't you think they were ready to hire somebody, the lowest bidder?
I think the one thing, when you read 2012-15, the one that had the 11 their duties or role of this is not what we're doing. It is very humane, and they really didn't have to do much, but if you read that over, it just doesn't, it just really doesn't say much. We picked up a lot to do, and I think it's good that we have, because I think the HOA would have a real problem trying to separate the two and getting things done.
Well, our function, and I always looked at it as us being a liaison between the HOA
Right.
and the Board of Supervisors, because that was a link. Because not everybody on the Board of Supervisors before you became involved and knew how this worked and how to get some of that done. So that was, we didn't do the projects.
Right.
It really, the HOA would handle things, and sometimes the board of the staff here would help us out. But we have become more hands-on, and I'm not sure I'm really 100% happy with it because of our limitation to communicate with each other outside of a public forum.
I think the one thing, and you'll notice in my recommendation stuff, the draft stuff, is that we have too many board members on this committee.
I saw you write that. I'd have to disagree with that.
I think
Me
that
being a board member in
Actually,
the committee.
actually, when we did this security test,
Nothing under, I mean, there's nothing.
there were 3 votes that already approved it, so they needed 1 vote out of 4 to pass it. I don't think
On
that's
the
right.
committee.
Yeah, I think we should, I have it limited to 2. I know down at Estero, Stoneybrook and Estero, members of the HOA board cannot serve on the CDD board. down there.
That's a different.
Yeah, that's different, but I think this is kind of a standard. You don't, because I think I brought that up, Margaret raised her hand, but I brought it up one time at the board meeting when Margaret, I can't remember what it was about. We were voting on something and
I think you were accusing me of double dipping.
No.
It was something that, but about, that might have been what it was, but because she could vote on it one way here and then come here and vote a different way.
I don't think the two are a good comparison.
Yeah.
The CDD
Which
down
was
at Stoneybrook,
totally unfair, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
the CDD down at Stoneybrook and Estero is a one community CDD.
Right.
Plus, as if I remember correctly, it's been a lot of years since I communicated with them in our beginning. And that essentially deals with the golf courses.
Yes, it is. CDs and every golf course.
Yeah.
So that's just one of the, just an
It's two different
example.
entities, you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
well, I'm just trying to use that as an example that some people don't allow the mix. And I don't know, I haven't gone around to see, I don't know what.
Well, as a board member and an advisory member, I'd be totally against that just because, A, I don't get paid. This is a volunteer position. It's my time of helping out the community and where I live. So I don't think there's a conflict of interest because
That's a draft there. That's a draft.
I know, but you added it.
Yeah, but I will say this, right now, currently, we have 3 former presidents
Right.
and an existing
Yeah.
president. But it brings knowledge and experience to
Yes.
this committee.
And I think, that's why I recommended no more than 2 because that
You
brings,
said no more than one.
does they want?
No more than one member of the advisory member can be a
Well, we
HOA
can
board member.
negotiate that to 2, because I was thinking 2.
Margaret, you gotta stick with us.
And I will step up and ask this, because it's really gonna be addressing Brian.
I don't know.
Well, you can say that, but I have the question with the percentages on the employees. And you can't answer the one on how the percentages came to be for the district manager and the assistant. I don't know how you can put a percentage on a position that doesn't exist yet, but that's a whole nother question. But under yours, under the public works manager and natural resources, it's just a flat 5%. How is that determined? What did you look at to decide that it was 5% of that person's time that they spent doing things for the 004 budget?
Those numbers have been in there way before I got here.
That's true.
And
I admit to
I can
that.
tell you, they ask me how much time I spend.
Mhm.
I probably spend 5%, maybe 10 max in that development.
Doing stuff for
Well, I
the
have-
roads and
Well,
sidewalks
You figure
or?
sidewalks, roads. I can't tell you how many complaints I've looked at due to raised sidewalks in the neighborhood.
Yeah, that's landscaping.
I've done it last year as well. Your roads, I've done 2 or 3 areas that have been fixed. You're not aware of it. There's a couple of them that were done last year. So it's about 5%. I know L's time, it was L's, now it's Jim's because of the landscaping issues. That's probably only 2 people from Public Works
Right.
that's into there from my staff.
As far as Jim is concerned, though, you told us you weren't wanting to oversee the landscaping anymore,
Well,
that you wanted.
That hasn't been
So-
official yet because until Stoneybrook takes over that track,
But once again, this is a future going forward budget.
well,
Because you said you wanted us to create like a working group that took care of making sure the
and
landscaping
that
was
would be
being
awesome
done
because that's
properly.
what other areas do. And we don't go in other areas and take over their landscape and tell them how they want it done.
So
I
if
mean,
we create that
Then
work,
we can pull Jim out of that.
that's
The
what
only
I
one-
wanted to
The
hear.
only one you won't be able to pull would be me out of it.
Which I don't think any of us agree.
Yeah,
that's
I
what
wasn't
would be
trying
fine.
to
I mean,
say that.
because unless you want to take the roads and sidewalks over.
Sure.
No, we don't.
Okay.
No.
Oh, well, yeah, you're right.
No,
You don't want.
no.
But I mean,
Because you can't answer for the other.
that would be something that the board would have to approve. I mean, I don't have the authority. I don't have the authority to do that. It's on the
Thank
board, but
Yeah, I think that's something.
Because I think that sounds kind of like,
And that's gonna.
I know there's several people who would probably be good on that, and one that actually spent.
All right, Warren, are you done? You got more?
Yes, I moved to adjourn.
Oh, I was just gonna say that I.
Yeah, we might have a couple of comments, but I want people to have the opportunity.
Yeah, that's fine. I just, you know,
I have,
Go ahead, Angela.
I totally agree that 7 years, it's time to do the resolution, to work on this, so I'm so glad that you've already started the draft. Move forward on this. What was in the past, I guess, is,
I don't like the
wasn't
minimum
here.
number either, 3, that's too low.
We'll work
we
on
don't
it.
need comments on that.
We'll
No,
work on
no,
it.
we need 3.
You have
Oh,
minimum
you know
of
what,
3.
can I ask a question just
Minimum
before?
of 3, maximum of 7.
for
Yeah,
this?
3 to 7. But 3, no, but it gives you latitude there to go to 5.
I will say this,
That's the way
7,
most are written up.
we were 5 for a number of years
Yeah.
before we got 11, by, sort of forced upon us.
Yes, it was.
And we did not request it, it was forced upon us, and actually they wanted to make it 8, but we made it 11 to protect the integrity of the committee. The thing is that after Pete Dora's comment, we did reduce it to 7. And that's why we did it, and nobody ever questioned it because of what we discussed at that meeting.
And I could never find, and I read.
I'm telling you, not everything makes
But
a
it's
man.
still, it's still, that's the documentation you have, those are the official records, and that's what people will look to. Unless they go back through and can document it on video.
And since I've been on this committee for a long time, and during the process and the start of all this cluster F, I do remember them going to 7 because we weren't getting
Oh, no question. I don't have an argument, I don't have an argument with that.
The problem is if we stay at 11, how many meetings have we not had a quorum that we voted on?
Well, I I don't have an argument with 7. I think it's a great number to have.
It is right now.
It's an odd number.
Because it makes it easy to get a quorum, but to go beyond. And I think that's it. I'm open, if you have something, let me know, I can fix whatever. I don't know.
I'll look over this,
Yeah.
And 5 worked, but I was comfortable with 7 when we went back down to 7.
And
And,
it's definitely easy for a quorum.
yeah, and
Get 4 people.
4 people was reasonable to get, and we had, it was that many more people with ideas and whatnot
Yeah.
to contribute to the group. I had no trouble with that.
Can I ask a question now that this is on the agenda for next month and we'll be reviewing the draft? We have to do this at the next meeting. What is the process on handing it over when we do complete the resolution to hand it over to the board of supervisors?
You take it to the board.
Timeline.
You take it to the
We
board.
probably looked it up. I would say we review, modify it, approve it, and it winds up in the board book in the next month.
Is under sunshine law, are we allowed to make modifications, send it to Georgia, have Georgia send it out to the committee, make more changes?
Georgia don't have it on her computer.
Someone wants
There goes our percentage.
Someone wants to.
Georgia don't have a copy of that,
Set the time.
I know.
JT. Georgia don't have a copy.
No, I'm talking about what, I know we can't communicate and work on it. I mean, 'cause
Oh, I
it'd be
see.
nice to have be able to work on this,
Yeah.
so we don't have to go month to month to month to month.
No, we gotta get it done. We can.
So,
I agree with that.
so is there a way that we can make changes? Is there a way we can make changes, give to Georgia, send it out to everybody, then we all look at it, make
I
our
can-
changes, and stay within the sunshine law?
Now, I'm not sure. I can email copy to everyone.
Yeah, that's actually, you gotta do it through Georgia.
Okay, well, that's easy.
And then we can make changes, send it to Georgia, then she emails it. Can we communicate that way? to
Yeah,
stay within
that's
the
fine,
sunshine?
yeah.
And going forward, I think we may need some language in there that addresses the issue of our ability to have a work committee or a work group. That, only, because in theory, there should only be one person from this committee in that group. And we could have somebody from the HOA board in that group. But the fact is that, because, I think the sunshine law is stupid. I know they're trying to stop corruption. But then they exempted themselves up in Tallahassee from that law. So, what's it really doing?
I think, and I agree. I feel it's hard to get something done and they can't communicate and
It's super hard.
quickly, But I will say, Georgia has been overly responsive.
Absolutely.
I mean, just,
Wonderful.
I text her or email her a question on something because I found something that I didn't have. And boy, she got.
4 stars,
an answer.
4 stars, no question.
No doubt about it.
I agree. All right, so in any case.
Oh, I think,
Does Margaret, you have something else, Margaret? One last.
I was gonna say, because I was just asking him about his 5%, that Laura should be in the office. Can we have her come in and ask the same questions we asked Brian to justify the increases?
Budget meeting tomorrow, these conversations are coming up,
It's
so.
additions, yeah. 5% for you and assistant district manager we don't have. I don't know how we can justify that 5% of a person that doesn't exist is gonna be using his time at Stoneybrook,
But watch yourself. Do not use your time in Stoneybrook specifically on those subjects. In
I
Stony
know, yes, that's right. Just because it says Stoneybrook doesn't mean it's necessarily
004.
004.
Probably not.
And that was, I asked him, and he said, Brian is Stoneybrook, he's Pelican Reserve.
On
So-
meetings.
So that's,
And I said, I get dragged into Stoneybrook issues on this to do with parking and a few other things. And I think that-
Parking hasn't come up in a long time.
Yeah. And it's, I can't see that being an issue for you next year either. But,
If you want to pull it out, I'll find it. No problem with it at all.
yeah, because you're gonna get paid. And perhaps we were paying for it when the money we put into the 001.
justified his time.
So should Laura come in?
I'm just asking if she can.
That's the chairman.
I don't want to really just, I don't, what do you guys think?
Don't make it ever like.
I mean, I think this is a huge budget. I mean, we're going to, I want to say, if I remember
We started
correctly,
this
we're
one at
going
2
to
o'clock.
about 10,000 to above 30. I mean, that's $20,000 more in our budget that each person, 777 homes is going to be accounted for in their taxes. That's huge.
It's a lot.
It's a lot, especially with all the other increases. And I thank you for coming to our meeting today. Thank you.
I mean, I think you should schedule
Yeah.
sites to go to the board tomorrow and say if you're making reductions, this is what we think, let them vote on
and then that's kind of what we talked about actually.
it. Yeah, bring it up, make a motion.
But I'm only one, just saying.
It'd be nice to have Doug here, though.
And keep in mind that when we leave here, technically, we're not supposed to communicate.
Right.
So it makes it hard for us to get together and come to a consensus. It really does.
And that's why I said send the questions and then at least we know and then the answers will be addressed tomorrow or you know what I mean? That's, or make them in, I don't know, like how you guys gonna do it separate together, how you wanna- I guess maybe now it is maybe the best time to get those answers since it's the 5 of you guys are here and the meeting's tomorrow, so kind of don't have much time, so this is the best opportunity to get your answers. That's my feedback, that's just what
Well, I know Joe will be here.
I'll be here tomorrow.
Chris, you gonna be here tomorrow?
but Joe won't be able to give a number that he agrees on, because it's just be him not speaking on behalf of all of you.
I think the board should make a motion right now to put what they're gonna take to the board tomorrow.
Really? But can we do that without it being an agenda item and to really have anything to vote
Well,
upon?
honestly, I don't have the numbers either. I don't have the percentages, I don't have the names, I don't know how much the increase is. Well, technically, we actually could vote on it, even though it isn't an agenda item, because it'd be pretty much telling.
You've got budget discussion on your agenda.
Yeah, no, we do have it, so we can do it.
Right.
I just don't have it.
From the advisory committee, has to do with that before.
Yeah.
And all Laura will do is she'll,
Huh?
ask her to react tomorrow and say, this is why we allocate this money. It's a percentage of the 004 fund that takes administrative time, specifically CDD that is in Stoneybrook. So the money that the residents pay into their general fund isn't the 004 fund. That's the way I look at it. It's two separate issues.
I do still think though that we have to be careful how we word that, because it isn't just all the issues in Stony Brook, and that's the way it sometimes is interpreted, because we do pay as much as the other communities do. It has to be identified specifically what that is, time is spent on. And I know that Doug said, well, we'll have, and that doesn't happen, we'll do timesheets, the keep track. I'm sure it didn't happen. I know that's tough to do.
Like long hours for that.
Well, we'll have like accountants and lawyers.
You could have a solution is pay your own bills.
Get Stoneybrook back to Stony.
There you go. Then now you got staff out of it.
Listen, I know some of us are not in favor, but I'm willing to take the roads and own the roads ourselves and control. I know, that's me. That's me.
You won't own the road, they can't give you the roads, but.
Well, there's a way to work around that.
Well, the same as the old MOU we had. We had everything. Problem was, the money was coming in to HOA. And I get concerned about that because those of us that went through that, there were problems back in the day.
There were other problems though, that created that I don't want to go down that path right now.
I think we need to, if we're gonna do something, I think we need to take the time and develop something so that we're in concurrence and that we can take it to the
Are you
board.
gonna ask Laura to come in or not?
Laura, are you hearing us? Do you want to come in?
I'm
sitting here.
She's probably in there
I'm
listening.
sure what she's gonna tell you, they've had that allocation in place for years, which isn't a good reason for it, but if it's CDD money that you guys are managing, then it takes CDD staff.
That's the answer. No. They want to know those percentages, where they came from.
I wasn't listening, so I was working.
Her 5% was listening, so there you go.
It's 25 now.
There you go.
So what is,
She was the one that wanted to.
are you're questioning the salary?
Well,
the
we're still-
allocations?
I still allocation because.
Okay,
I have
the only change is, wow, this is,
We turned up because someone that was on the
We
phone.
couldn't hear somebody
He's
that
gone.
was on.
Oh, you're fine.
He's gone.
We had somebody on the speaker, we couldn't hear.
okay. The allocations that are in the budget for this year, the only changes I made to it versus what it's always been, I did add 5% of my time in there. And I know that there was some discussion about Julie's time last year, and I think you guys requested that that be taken out, but I think that would be very unfair because she actually does a lot for you guys. She takes care of all the accounts payable and everything for you. She handles all your bills. So to not have her time included in there, I don't think that's right. You should be paying for her
She
time.
does handle those. I
She
thought that
does,
was
yep.
being handled by you.
We both handle them. She touches everything first and then everything goes through me as a final okay.
5% may be high though. And I do want to say something else about those bills. And I don't know if all those bills are pertaining to road and sidewalk, because there are other things that may come up.
Well, your mainscape things come through us, your, the bug stuff for the gatehouse comes through us. We take care of, any of your FPL bills that come through, the stuff, if we pay any of those, I can't remember. We have some of your
Yeah,
stuff.
we have some.
She
and-
takes care of
and
all of
that's-
that.
And that's the streetlights. To be honest with you, we're on that's a borderline situation there anyway.
Yep.
because of where the streetlights are located, as you know what I'm talking about.
Like issuing the POs, all of that. She puts all the orders in and then I take care of approving everything and issuing the purchase orders. And it's stuff like this. It's your budget questions. That's where my time comes from.
Mhm. Well, let me say this, that Julie did used to spend time on minutes and actually would sometimes be in here in meetings, if I remember. When we lost, one of the women left before.
Must have been maybe Diane. There was a Diane that
Diane.
worked here.
Little
Yeah.
Diane.
Yeah.
I heard her name a lot.
I actually ran into her at a restaurant out in Lincoln. Yeah, I agree. In any case, so Julie was doing more for us back
Mhm.
then than she probably is doing now. And I'm not sure that 5% of her time is really spent specifically, and I'm not saying Stony Brook, specifically on the things that this committee has to deal with.
And
I could be
but you
wrong.
have to understand that her time is not being billed on time she spends on things for the committee. It's being billed to you based on things that she does for Stony Brook.
Right, but
So
Stony Brook Road and sidewalks. Now,
there's more than Stony Brook Road and sidewalks, so that she would touch. That would be where he would come in. That's his
but
team.
that's what this committee is about.
I understand that, but that's not what the 5% is for. The 5% is not the time she spends for the Stony Brook committee. 5% is the time she spends doing things for Stony
But the
Brook.
5% being added to the 004.
Correct.
And not necessarily the 001, because we're all paying into the 001.
Correct.
So what you just said was, is what we.
We're saying that specifically 5% of her time is spent on things just for Stony Brook. So you're paying for 5% of her time because you're using 5% of
Which we
just
all
her
pay
time.
in the 001.
Well, this is something you need to bring in front of the board then, because this is how I feel that if she is dedicating 5% of her time
Which is
to Stony
great.
Brook, you should pay for 5% of her
But
time.
we are paying it in the 001.
Not really. Well, yes and no, yes.
That's, see, from our perspective, we're double paying for some of that time. That's what we're paying.
So we're paying 5% of the 004.
So you're saying you don't want to pay for anybody's salary?
No, I ain't saying that. We're saying.
Because then you're double paying for everyone.
No, maybe you might have a point there. But let's say, Flavia.
Well, we
in
are
her-
paying for everybody because the
I know.
001 does generate
Exactly.
paper payroll for everyone.
Flavia's community, Ed Tinkle's community,
Mhm.
both of them do not have assets specifically owned, they don't own, Gateway doesn't own the roads and sidewalks in those communities. But Gateway is responsible for the drainage piping, the lakes, the
Right.
flowways, so the.
And they're paying the salaries through the 001 fund, which is where all those things are managed.
And which is what we do.
Right.
Our concern is that sometimes there's a crossover or a blurring of the line between when people work in Stony Brook or on Stony Brook
Mhm.
things, that really maybe should be 001 type functions.
When I heard Brian, I think Brian, we were talking earlier, and there's a really easy suggestion, just take your bills back.
Pay your own bills
So,
over. Tell
Then
them,
you don't have
solves
to
the
worry
problem.
about it, then it goes
And
away.
you're out of it. The 001 will cover our salaries, whatever gets addressed to that.
Because that's kind of where, because Pelican pays too, they pay for salaries because we spend time
The
doing
reason-
things just
The reason
for
they do it is they
Pelican.
want that
They have-
tax.
Pelican doesn't
break.
pay directly
But they also
into
don't
the
have
001.
access to any of those amenities, so that's why they don't pay into the 001. It's different. They don't have direct access to Gateway, so that's what the agreement is. So because they don't have direct access to Gateway, they don't pay for the roads, the streetlights, the park, the soccer field, because
You mean the road we're gonna spend $400,000 on that's being used right now by Pelican residents?
That's a board question.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's not ours, sorry.
We see it because we drive by it all the time. The rest of them don't see what's.
Right.
Know that those contractors, all of them own the BMWs.
Oh, okay, they're coming in their personal vehicles, okay.
Well, I think this Brian's time here, you mean he attends your meetings, so.
No one is.
I'm raising mine to 15 now. Keep going up. I'm gonna make up for everybody else if this keeps this up.
No, but I agree, I would like, trust me personally, and I've expressed opinions, and there are many reasons beyond financial why I would like to see us take over our roads. I really would, and own the roads.
Mhm.
Control the
I
roads
understand there's some
completely.
complications in there, like we have to do like a pass through to someone else, so we can't turn it right back
It would
over
have to
to
go up to
you.
the county,
Right, and then the county can get.
in the
legal,
county, but
yeah.
then you gotta get them signed on, and all your ducks lined up, and the eggs
Yep.
in a row, whatever.
Well, I've been talking to Tony a little bit, especially because I'm understanding things much better this year than I was last year at this time. And Chris and I had talked as well, and I think it's probably time for us to go over the agreement that we have with you guys, because it's so old and it needs to be gone over and revamped. And I think that may help a lot of the things that are coming up in these discussions, but we won't be able to do anything with that until fiscal 23. 'Cause it'll take some time to hash
You're
that
gonna be
all out.
surprised
So.
at this. Now, Warren was our first president, and we took over in April of 2007. It was probably a year before he knew that we didn't own our own roads.
Yeah.
Think about it, right? We spent money with an engineering firm to dedicate and identify all the problems we had with our roads and sidewalks, only to find out we didn't have them, own them, and therefore we didn't have standing. Our own attorney suggested we did have standing because we were the ultimate payer for the maintenance and repairs to those items. But Tony didn't want to run with that and kind of let it go. We were stuck with some serious engineering deficiencies and problems, and I don't want to bore you with that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bobby.
But the fact is that it was not a good start. It was a rocky road, and then we hit the crash all at the same time. It was so bad in our community that that's how this got started.
Sure.
Because the then operations manager, Bill Knight, was ready to take over the roads away from us because we didn't have the money, and you probably remember this, to properly maintain the roads or the landscaping.
Right.
We looked that bad.
Yep, I heard.
And so.
But I think it's time to review that agreement and see what we can do. So, but it's obviously not happening for fiscal 22, but I think for fiscal 23.
There was a time we believed by jumping on board, first of all, we save sales tax. There's no getting away from that.
That's a separate discussion,
It's
but
a
yeah.
separate discussion.
You really don't, but okay, yeah.
I know they bill it in some other way.
Yeah, you lose 4% right off the top because
Okay,
they
well,
take
that's
that
the
out of
next
your
issue.
assessment.
We thought we'd maybe
So-
have more negotiating power, negotiating some of these contracts, such as landscaping, with you guys because you were going over to Mainscape. That's when we switched over. We'd be part of that package. You had
Mhm.
more leverage than we did. Not sure how that worked out, if that's a fact or not. But nevertheless, it was a very, very rocky start. I mean, we came close to failing as a community.
Right.
It was that bad.
Yep.
And now we probably could handle it. I agree.
Yeah, no, I
probably
agree.
could
I think
handle
you guys you seem to be much better structured, and people seem to be paying and everything, and so like you would have enough money to take the things back.
35% for 2 years, didn't it?
It's too late to do it for this next budget year, but I think we definitely need to look at it for 23.
Because taxes always got paid, and that was another big factor. You're
Yep.
absolutely correct.
Yep.
No question, that was a factor in the decision.
No, I completely understand. So anyway, my suggestion would be because the board has already approved all of those allocations as they were submitted, if you have specific things that you disagree with, I will not be there tomorrow. I'm actually flying out in the morning. I'm not going to be at the meeting. So I would bring those, I'm here for your meeting though.
I know.
I would bring those, your specific requests to the board and like lay out, this is what it says in the budget, this is what we would like to change to, because I don't have the authority to do that.
I know that.
That has to come from the board.
Mhm.
So because they've already approved it as is. I guess there's some things, and I think you and I had talked when we met about the budget, and like there's a few things that I could see conceding on. There's some that I won't. There's some that I will fight for, but there's some that I can see where they could be like, yeah, we can take that off. I'm not going to tell you which ones they are, but be very specific in your recommendation to the board, and you'll have a better chance of
What's
getting
the
stuff
salary of
changed.
administration assistants?
They are, I don't have, it's in the budget.
We're paying, I don't have a budget.
Yeah, I don't,
We're paying 10% though for that.
just Julie.
Just one.
Or just
no,
Georgia.
Georgia.
Georgia, because she takes care of all the, and I said, I think Joe and I had talked about that as well. She does a lot more than you guys
Yeah.
see. She does a lot of, I mean, there's a lot of individual requests going back and forth. So I think 10% for her is very fair.
That's actually probably just 10% for Warren.
Well,
Yeah,
that was my
actually,
concern
some of my
about it.
time should go to
Tell
the
him to
Warren
quit doing
too.
requests, it
I'm gonna
might go
send him a
down.
bill.
There you go.
I was tallying up, when we were looking at doing some changes on the website, I was looking at all the public records requests and they were pretty much all from Warren. So, yeah.
We understand that
I hope 004 isn't paying for those.
No, there was
No,
no
there's no
charge
payment.
for any of those. No, it was just me. It was me just doing some research when I was looking at the website and things to take off and so, but no, I think that's my recommendation. Be very specific when you come in front of the board. Because I
Okay.
know when you came forward the last time, I believe it's not your exact words, but it was, I don't agree with the percentages that are assigned. I'd like you to reconsider it. You didn't give me any options. So I think, and you have every right to do
planting a
that.
seed
Yep.
get the ball rolling.
They are not gonna look at that. I can tell you that is not the focus of what they're gonna be looking at. Yeah, you need to be very specific. You need to be very specific with what you want them to do.
We ain't paid. How's that?
So- I'm not doing anything for you. Bye.
Key thing, we're gonna redo this resolution. I think right after we get that resolution done, we need to go back with that master board and work on that MOU, because that.
But as far as the budget goes, we've got to get this done in a hurry.
Yeah, you gotta get everything to Steven because he needs time to get it in. I sent him all the changes to the non-allocated funds part of it, that's just the specific for the things that you guys have control over, the stuff that you came up with the dollar amounts. I know like the landscape contract you don't, but like I think we went over the guardhouse and some of your other things where you and I and Margaret sat down. I sent all those to Steven, so those are already included in the budget. Any of the changes that you requested are already made.
Okay.
The only thing that did not get changed was the salary allotment. So that, otherwise, anything else you requested is already
And I
in
thought that was going
there.
to be the case, but I do want to say that how in God's earth can we be paying almost the same amount that the Belfort pays? It just doesn't make any sense. And if you break it down to a per door basis, they're 3.5 times our size.
Right.
That doesn't make sense either.
You guys have some big bills. They have a lot, do they have more people than you, do they?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They have a lot more people than us.
So they have a
Yeah,
lot more
they're
bills.
3.5
It just
times our size.
breaks down the same side. I mean, they have big bills too.
They
but
got
you
to
have
be
some
getting
big
close
bills.
to 2,500 doors, at least 2,450 anyway. We're 778.
Seven something, yeah.
No, we're not
No.
getting any bigger, but they're just about done.
Yeah, they're almost built out.
Yeah,
now.
They're close.
Scott
Yeah.
told me 20 more houses.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
almost
that's
built
it.
out.
They're done on their last on Prado now. Last buildings.
Well, thank you for coming in
Sure.
and giving us a little bit of guidance anyway.
Yeah, that would be my recommendation. Just be very specific in what you
Do
want.
you have anything specific? Anybody else? Thank
Well,
you, Laura.
You're welcome.
Before we adjourn, I know we already made it adjournment, but no one voted on it. Maybe we need to write down the percentages right now, so you have some. Do we have a sheet here? Can we get a sheet?
I bet you Margaret has.
Margaret? Because I would like to go
You
through.
gonna roll the file cabinet in?
I would like to go through each one and say, this is what the district manager is getting, this is a percentage, this is everything, boom, boom, boom.
I don't have a blank one, so you're gonna have to do it.
You know what, let's make a copy of 6, so we can actually, or 7, so we can just quickly, boom, boom,
Can
boom.
you ask,
I don't-
Because
I
then
think
you
they
can go
just closed the door.
Because
Before
then-
they asked anybody out.
Because then you can go tomorrow with that sheet and say, boom,
This-
this is what we want, this is our suggestions, this is this, here's a copy, this is what the.
well, I was actually hoping she was gonna do it, but I know as chair of
No,
the
we
committee, I'll have.
Yeah, pretty much what she said was,
He's gonna discuss the, from my understanding, the general budget, what cuts there and 04 needs to come from you.
Okay.
so I think it's important that we get this. I mean, I know we all want to leave, but
Let's do it.
I got 28 minutes yet before the beer's full.
the beer's always cold.
Hey, Warren, educate me
Wait,
for
for
a
the
minute on
brewery, because I can get some in my car.
the resolution. It's not specific. Just a general question because maybe I'm just unknowledgeable in any education. It states, and that X amount of people who shall serve at the pleasure of the Board of Supervisors. Each member shall serve a term of 4 years. Aren't those two statements contradictory?
No,
You're serving
the
at the
term
pleasure of the
is 4
super-
years.
But if you're serving at the pleasure of the supervisors, you're in until they tell you to get out, right?
That could be interpreted that way, and I will say this.
Either way, it can be interpreted, but you're giving someone 4 years, like, because anytime the board can fire you.
It's almost like the ARC.
Correct.
It's almost like the ARC that we have in our community. It's a 1-year position, and every year the president has to go and bless you and keep going.
And that was the idea. That was the idea.
Yeah, it's not even real. It's-
And-
it's
And,
blessing
and,
you.
and the issue
And like
comes
I say,
down to.
Chris, it's all open for discussion. I mean, that is just,
Oh, I wasn't necessarily
Yeah,
questioning other than, I don't know. I
Yeah.
thought they were contradictory statements.
Did you get one?
And it's the supervisor's really pleasure, I don't know. I need to get a pen.
Did somebody miss one?
I think they might have made an extra, maybe one for Tom. I'll take it.
Okay, thank you.
She'll charge you, but anyway, yeah. There.
Oh, put glasses on.
Are you gonna
Can't see
stop?
anything now.
Well, I'll say right off the top, district manager, assistant district manager, nothing personal against Chris, but going forward, the way it looks like this is gonna be, I don't think it should be more than 1%.
And we don't have the assistant district manager now, so you
Yeah.
don't know, that person could pick up a lot of stuff that we may have to pay for, but until that comes around, we shouldn't be paying for it.
So would you go
everything else-
0 or 1%?
What's that?
Would you go 0 or
Yeah,
1%?
I feel zero. For both
Would
of
you
them.
go 0?
But,
Or would you go 1% on the
Well,
district manager?
maybe 0, I don't know what
Both?
the assistant district manager is gonna be doing. And if that person may be handling things that the district manager handled in the past, which may be some things that pertain to us, I don't know.
Well, the assistant, they don't have one, and I doubt that they'll get one before the end of the next budget year. As slow as the board works.
Do you think? I don't know.
It's posted.
Yeah, it's posted.
They had
It's right.
13 candidates applied
Is
for
it
it.
posted already?
Yeah.
All 13 people applied for it that I
Is
know of.
that right? Oh, okay, I didn't realize it already posted.
Yeah, it's,
So
Wow.
I was thinking that it was gonna happen for the end of this year, that's for sure. I think that's a possibility.
I would say probably the next budget by the end of the year.
can we start from the top and just go down each one?
All right, sure.
District manager's 5% administration fee, which would cost the whole for around $7,400. 73.67.
Mhm.
So we could just go 1%?
I mean,
We
how
have
much,
never paid it before.
0.
how much time has Chris?
She'll know more than I would.
So 0.
0, fine.
Okay.
Start at
Assistant.
zero.
Assistant district manager, 0.
At least they can tell you is no.
Business manager, name.
Assistant district manager, who's that right now?
We don't have one.
Doesn't exist. That's why she was saying, when is it gonna start?
Yeah.
And- Or Warren.
Business manager's name.
That'll be
That'll be
Laura.
Or, I think probably deserves the 5%.
But they won't pay the 5% until they hire somebody, so.
Laura is your business manager.
Yes.
Oh, business, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
right, okay. I go
But
definitely
even,
5%.
but even if they hire someone for the district man, or for the
Assistant.
assistant district manager, what is she actually doing on top of?
They got a job description already set out, so I'm not sure who it's gonna be or what the credentials are for. Some board members are holding out for, they want an engineer type person and others aren't, so it could be back and forth.
All right, let's keep going here. Business manager, 5%, I think is, I can live with that.
Yeah.
Administrative assistant is 10% is Georgia, I can live with that. I'm sorry, the receptionist for 5%, that one I might have a problem.
Was that before 0?
No, it was.
No, it was 5, but she was doing more for us, especially after Diane left.
Previously, there was nothing in the shared cost for administrative assistant, so that wasn't anything we ever paid for, anyway, 10%.
I think with the
But
bid,
I think Julie at that time, the receptionist, was doing some of the administrative.
Absolutely.
which,
assistant.
which
No
is what
question.
business manager and an administration assistant is doing now.
Julie.
Yes, they're paying your bills.
Right,
And
so
Julie's
the
still doing some of the
receptionist,
bills, yeah.
0.
I mean, if she's taking if she's calculating that, taking phone calls or emails, most people is gonna do
No.
strictly,
She processes she processes the mail
then
coming in.
that will be 0. Public work manager,
Well,
Zero.
that's him.
I know that, but it's 5. I mean, if we've taken away 3
Well,
zeros, should we go up a little?
Does the natural?
I didn't hear you right. What'd you say?
Should we go down some?
The-
I mean, you do, I mean,
I know.
I'm only going off what you stated, what you allocate your time with.
The
You
natural,
got to remember, I'm here two
Yeah.
and a half hours every month.
No, not every.
All right, this meeting here, there's another one, 2.5, so.
And we had done 5% to
Thank you.
Okay.
the natural resource
Leave it
person,
alone.
That was L,
that was L. Now, is that gonna be Jim then from now, or?
correct.
But
Okay, so
I
he'll be
don't know
working
that
with-
But if
Jim's
you're,
gonna be.
if you're taking your landscaping over, then Jim goes down to,
0.
But are we taking our landscaping?
you won't be doing track A, because that'll be, still be Gateway.
That's, track A is.
which Jim would still maintain, which is between the sidewalks and the road and that.
So
There's
it's
still a
half.
lot of.
So you could probably reduce that down to 2%.
Two.
That's,
Oh.
but I can't approve that, no?
No, we're just working on it.
Public Works is 5. Let's get back to the receptionist. Did we come to an understanding on the receptionist?
Zero.
I don't know, that should be a zero.
But if the reception, if the business manager and the administration assistant is doing the majority of the work, what is the reception doing?
Well, she is opening up envelopes.
She processes all, she picks up the mail.
Not
before it gets-
5% worth.
No, I agree with
She
that.
processes all
1%.
the mail and it gets.
Mail
where
for
it's going.
what?
US mail.
No, for the bills, for the old.
For everything. All the bills, anything that comes in for the mail, she's the first one to handle it. And then it goes out to everybody else.
1%.
1%.
That's
Should
why.
be-
I'm willing to go 2, maybe, suggest maybe 2.
Well, we're already
What do you
giving
think?
Georgia, which we know
Right,
does a
okay.
lot of work at the 10%.
Well, it was already
Taking it
allocated.
all in.
I'm not sure how much Georgia processes.
We've never actually quite done this before.
Yeah, this is
Georgia,
really-
when Julie's not here, I think she handles.
Well, it's because we have to now. It's went up. It's a major budget issue.
All right, so receptionist 2?
2 is good.
Natural resources is 2. That's basically, I don't have a calculator with me, but I don't know if you guys with your cell phones can do some numbers here. But
Are you leaving the administrative assistant at 10%?
yeah,
What was it before?
We weren't paying any administrative assistant fund.
What did we pay Diane? What was
I
her?
think
her
she was
title.
the business manager. I think she would have fallen under that.
Oh, okay.
So it was 5% and 5% for administrative work, but now instead of being 2 positions, it's 3 positions and we're paying for more than I added.
communications. Anything I communicated to this committee, I try to send it through.
Yeah, she's worth that.
I don't have an opinion. I'm just asking, and I'm trying to
Mhm.
the numbers on my sheet.
So public works manager is like 5,001. The natural resources down to 2%. 40% of that would be about 1,200.
I'm thinking savings around 16.5.
Yeah, but rather than savings, I'd like to get the actual numbers we're looking for. If the 4592 stays solid, stays the same for the business manager.
What thing is this?
I think they're pretty accurate. Margaret, are those your numbers written down there?
Accurate?
I went to the staffing plan and it had their salaries on it, and I
Okay.
put the 5 and 10%. So if you want to do 2% on receptionist, it would be 2% of 50,947.
27 or 47,
947.
which would be 1,018.94.
Does that, the percentage come off salary and benefits?
You'd have to.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's everything.
Everything else is based off of that, right?
And which category is Julie in? Because I've just got her to the side. She works with Laura. So we have, it's kind of like a
Julie's
business.
reception.
Julie's your receptionist, Laura's your business manager.
I got you. Okay.
Natural resources, what's the salary in that? Budget.
61,078.
That's 1220 something.
1221.56. And then the rest of the numbers should be all right.
Yeah.
How much did you come up with on natural resources?
1221.56.
Yeah, I'm rounding up.
So we made 4.
You ready to add a string of numbers for
I'm
me?
adding
real
it up
quick?
right now.
Okay. I got 5 numbers you're adding up, right?
Can't read. I'm gonna round this one up. I don't read it.
I promise the next meeting will be less than an hour. I will cut it off. Stop it right there on the spot.
This is really important. So we'll be able to
I
present this
know,
tomorrow,
I know.
which is extremely
The time
important.
sensitive.
Around 16,778. That sound about right for the total payment?
That should be about right, yeah. Give me that number again.
$16,787. And if we're not, and then last year, I think we were paying, I'm still,
Last year was about less than 8,000. And then when you tacked it all on, it was a little over 10, between 10 and 11.
this number will go up once.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
So
can
we're pretty
figure
much, so we're pretty
probably,
much, we're doubling.
you're probably looking at about a quarter, 20 to 25% tacking onto that.
So we're doubling our staff fees. If you said it was
Yeah,
8. and
I
we're-
would
and
say
now we're
we are
16,
doubling our staff.
We're doubling it and we're taking away less services.
Pretty much.
All right. You got the numbers?
Yeah.
Everyone agree with those numbers?
Yes.
You okay with it?
Do we announce?
Anybody?
I heard the whisper, what was the final total?
Oh, 16,778.
70 or
You
87?
said 78.
I'm sorry,
87.
16,787.
Yeah.
And those are just me.
That's just
looking at these
payroll.
Pencil
Yeah.
parts.
And you gotta think
And
in
it was,
terms.
what, at 25 or 26?
I'm gonna say it's gonna,
I think that's somewhere in that neighborhood.
What?
The original,
yeah, it was 25, 26. I agree with that.
yeah.
And it came out to about 35, I think, with the other cost of.
Yeah.
Because it's all projected off of that.
We just need
And
to.
maintain, and remember, we're paying, a fair share. And we are the 3rd largest community here. So as Stoneybrook pays a nice chunk of change. And in fact, we're the 2nd largest community that actually pays into the 001 fund directly. So we pay our shares.
Yeah,
We
I
do.
just- It's a shame you got,
Say what?
shame we've had to pull teeth to get anything done. Yeah, and I get probably a little more concerned because I read so much stuff. I'm thinking, and this is like you say, this isn't everything that goes on. This is just
What's written?
what they actually recorded.
Let me tell you,
Oh, my God.
the battles I have fought
I'll
up
make-
there over the years,
I'll make a
it
motion
wore
to
me out.
adjourn.
We just need to announce September.
Oh. We just announced it on September 1st meeting.
Okay, yeah. You got, the next meeting date will be on September 1st at 2 o'clock. And so adjournment.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay.
So we got JT moves to adjourn and Angela seconds it. And once again, I apologize, it's ran this long, but as Angela said, it was